A happy Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. It's available in both original and variety 12-pack. Would you boys like a Mott's Clamato? Just I was forgetting to ask. Are you guys good a little early? It's early. Like that's the thing. It's
right
early.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, can I take it to go?
We'll glad you can absolutely take it to go.
I remember going to weddings and like when they had the late lunch, people would just pile up their sweet tray and just, are you eating that? No, I'm taking it home.
Taking it.
Of course. They're almost offended.
Yeah.
Well, two of you would know that.
Yeah, I know.
your culture as well.
Yeah.
We like to.
It's leftovers.
Like
we don't
eat
them later.
Paisan, move your mic up.
Yeah.
This is the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here. Joining us today. It's going to be a fun one today. Derek Van Diest from NHL.com, as well as in shorts.
Yeah.
Gene Principe
Unreal.
from
Summer
Sportsnet.
weather.
Unbelievable.
It's
we were
great.
saying that on the way in.
Yeah, this has been, we were lucky enough, you got no socks?
Ankle
Wait,
socks.
did you guys come together?
I got here right when he got here.
Oh, okay.
We're coming from the same kind of
Well, that's what I
vicinity.
thought,
We
because
live-
he said
yeah.
we're talking
We
about on the
live
way
half a
in, so I
block
thought
away
maybe
from each
while
other.
driving in, you guys.
No, it'd be nice if
You live
would
across
offer to
the
pick me
street?
up, yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying.
It would be nice if you offered to pick me up.
Well, you're coming to, he's coming to your place of business. So I will go in his defense
I'm like
on that
half
one.
a block away. I go,
I
it's half a block
tried.
away.
I tried.
Do you
all
guys
good.
pay mileage here? 'Cause I'm on the north side, so that's quite the trek.
Oh, Northside, baby.
Yeah,
You go up on the
know,
Henday
around
and
the
it's just
hood.
like boom, you're here.
The Henday, when did that? Yeah, the Hendays.
Yeah.
I think of all those decades of piling onto Yellowhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like,
Oh, the worst.
right? And the Hendays, I'll take the extra kilometers for the extra time saved.
Yeah.
And even if it's the same amount of time, just it's free flowing, right?
Yeah.
Basically, unless it's, rush hour. So I love the Henday. Wonderful.
Oh, it's the best. Working at the old place. I lived right off the Henday, and the old place,
At your
1260 was right
old-
off the Henday. It was just a beautiful, quick drive.
Yeah.
It was the best. Like, that was the greatest thing.
Well,
when
and
we got
Edmonton
that done.
is, if you've been to Regina, for all the jokes about Regina, they have a ring road. There's in Winnipeg, when I worked there in the 90s, they had a road kind of around the city, which allowed you to avoid going into the city. It wasn't finished back then. It is finished now. So when the Henday, I don't know, when did the Henday kind of 10 years ago? 15?
Yeah, I want to say like 12, 13-ish.
Yeah.
It opened fully.
So it was I wouldn't say long overdue, but about time for us to get something that avoids a million people really in the area, right? You need somewhere to go other than in the heart of the city.
And they just finished the top leg of it like a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Then they had like the 3, and then there was like a
Yeah.
spot. They finished that off. So
And now it's expanding it.
Yeah.
That's the next step.
That's good.
So the south
Good.
Just good.
west leg or
Ring
whatever
roads,
needs to be
ring roads.
extended because, who would have thought you probably want 3 lanes in either direction to start,
Right. Hey,
Wow.
no knocks against the city today. Okay?
Whoa.
Easy.
Easy.
Back
I
that
live
truck up.
downtown though. I don't really drive much, so I walk in the pedway to the arena in the mornings.
Yes, you do. You have it very
Yes.
easy.
I
have a
see
good
him
Don't need the
sweating.
pedway right now.
Don't need the pedway
You
right
just
now.
walk right
Yeah.
outside unless
Yeah.
you want to protect your shoes from the slush.
Yeah, and you know what? It's true. You've got different options. It's nice having that at minus 40, but if you're across the street, just walk outside. To think back what that used to be, which was nothing.
How dare you
Swampland.
besmirch that Staples and
It was a
A&W
Staples, A&W.
with the
Well, I
Greyhound
was thinking
station?
of
that
station.
empty
The
lot.
NW was great. I thought it's the Greyhound station.
The empty
The
lot
Greyhound
there
station.
was just
Nice sit down before you get on the bus.
Greyhound.
Sure.
Yeah. I used to take the Greyhound once in a while from Lethbridge when I worked back in the day. But to think what we have now there is
It's all like you just walk, and you see that they have the rink there now, and there's a lot of people actually skating
Always
on that
using
rink.
the
There's
outside
always someone
rink?
using the rink,
the outdoor rink,
which is
there.
really
Yeah.
surprising to me. I was just like, okay, who's going to be skating on? But there's people out there
Families.
all the time,
Going really
families
late,
out
too.
there, and so it's
up
really,
to 11 o'clock at night and stuff. People are out
it's
there
great.
skating.
So it's fantastic area. It was modeled after you've been there, LA Live,
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit there. So it's a really nice.
and you know,
area.
listen, it's kind of built for the plus where you really would get full use out of it. But as long as it's not minus 40, the area's in use, right? The
Yeah, it
skating
is.
rink, people,
It
the
is in use,
restaurants,
yeah.
pedways get you places if you want to avoid being outside. It really is. Having a vision to look ahead to what something could be, I always feel like that's a great quality for people to have. I don't really have that quality. Maybe that's why I'm so impressed by it, but they did a great job downtown in the Ice District.
Well, they set up the 3 outdoor rinks right beside the arena now. You see
Yeah.
they have the ice wall
Where the back rat used to be.
and the 3 ice rinks.
Right,
which is
with
really
back
nice.
And they've had, like I went to the summer basketball,
Yeah,
the 3-on-3.
that's cool.
Is it the Plouffe sisters?
Yes.
Yes.
Plouffe sisters, right? They were
Just
incredible.
dominant.
Yeah, I remember being at A Channel back in the day and doing a story on them. They were like in grade 11 or 12. I was going to ask them if they remember that, and I thought they're not going to remember. They've been all over the world, and so that was neat. And then the beach volleyball,
Yes.
which was great,
Yeah.
as well. Italians bronze with the women.
They
I was
know.
trying to set up my oldest son with one of them, but they were tall, athletic.
Your brothers
as you might-
or your sons, both your boys
he's-
are pretty tall.
Yeah. One of them is like 6'5", 1 6'2".
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you have a wife who's 5'11", my brother-in-law 6'3", my nephew 6'4", my other brother-in-law 6'4", so lots
Yeah,
of
Terry's a big guy.
yeah. So lots of height in the family.
What are you?
Anyways. 6'1" maybe tops. I feel like I slouch. I saw on the Instagram they have this thing where it brings your like Jay Woodcroft would always say head up, shoulders back, and I always try and think of that, right? Because sometimes you kind of head up, shoulders back, right? So you're kind of. So
I
I'll have to
slouch
see.
bad.
But there's this thing on the internet I saw where it's like it would almost be like not a sling per se, but kind of a sling almost to support your upper back. So you do sit up.
It forces
as
you
opposed-
into the proper
as
position.
opposed to like there's this and then right. That's more comfortable. That's more proper, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, then your body gets used to it, and that becomes more
Well, then
comfortable.
that
Or it's
becomes-
supposed to, in theory.
Yeah. Then that becomes a natural way to do it.
Buy
I'm not a
anything off Instagram.
chiropractor, but I do play one.
On the Hangout.
Yeah.
If you've come to the Hangout for posture advice, Gene Principe has got you
That he
guys
got from
covered.
Instagram.
Yeah, it's
Which
you
can't
believe
go wrong.
everything on
No.
Instagram.
You're only going to find the proper products on
Yes.
Instagram. TikTok, even better.
Facebook. That's where it's at.
Are you on Facebook?
Not really.
No, I've never been on it.
It's not fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I always felt like people from the past would catch up to you
Find
and
you.
just be
Still want to deal with them?
just kind of the people you want to deal with, you see or you hear
true.
from, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to people from 30 years. Hey, remember me in grade 9? Actually, no, I don't. Don't remember you.
Oh, Eugene.
I don't remember. That's
You
right.
are mean,
I
Eugene.
don't remember. You.
It's killed, I think, somewhat the school reunions.
I didn't
Because
yeah.
I haven't had it, like, no one's ever set up a school, or maybe I'm just never been invited to a school high reunion
yeah,
or
it's
anything,
true,
because
so
it's one you just know everyone. You see,
Yeah,
you
right.
can see what everyone's
Stay in
doing.
touch.
Yeah.
I do like I'm on Instagram like when people are away on holidays. I find that to be kind of fun because you can see what they're doing, where they're going, how their holidays going. Actually, speaking of reunions, this summer will be 40 years since I graduated high school.
Damn.
Where'd you graduate from? St. Joe's?
St. Joe's.
St. Joe's.
Yeah. And in 1984, and that's one of those moments in life where you kind of go, wow,
Wow,
40 years. And high school was a blast. Like, I hope kids have fun. I feel like kids nowadays have more pressure than, I know we're in different
eras.
age categories here, but the kids nowadays seem like, hey, I'm studying for this. I'm studying for this. I'm studying. The marks are so difficult to get into NAIT or certainly university. Back then, we got in quite easily.
They changed the diploma exams, though, I think, because it used to be 50% on the final exam. And I think they've lowered that now.
Oh, yeah.
No.
It used to be 50% for your
Yeah.
schoolwork for the year and then 50% for the
Yeah.
exam.
Oh,
and if
right,
you
right.
bomb that exam, doesn't
Yeah.
matter how good you were. And they've lowered that, I
Yeah.
believe. I think the final exam is now like 30% or
Yeah,
something.
No.
I think there
Oh,
was.
wow.
Yeah, when we were in 1984, they had diploma exams and they took them out. 1984 was the first year they brought them back, or that school year, 83, 84. So we lucked out in that you could go and pick either one. So if you hit the diploma exam and let's say you got 80 and your school mark through the year was 56, you could choose. So you take the highest one.
Oh, that'd be great.
it was unbelievable because if you had a good mark in class, you didn't worry about so much a diploma, and vice versa. If you didn't have a good mark in class, then you would focus your time on that diploma.
That's interesting. I mean, my motto during high school, I remember, just good enough to get by.
Yeah.
And my mom would always be all over me. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Did I pass?"
Yeah, but
She's like,
did you get a matriculation? I don't know what they call it
What's
now.
that?
That's like you had.
There's two different. I think they changed it to.
We used to have,
advanced
like-
diploma and just general diploma.
Oh, okay. So I think
no.
we were advanced where we had 30. So
Yeah.
math 30. Social
Yeah, I did
30.
those.
Yeah. So then you would have had the advanced.
whatever the
Advanced
regular
diploma,
one
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
just enough to coast
Well, look
by.
at you now.
Look at me now.
Would you do it all over again?
Oh yeah. Do you see any stress lines here?
You look pretty, for a guy
a
who
guy.
looks like he's in high school.
Yeah.
You
There's
seem
a
to have
guy
done
who
all
had
right.
fun in high school.
You've known me since I was basically right out of high
Yeah,
school.
that's true, actually. Yeah.
Oh my
that's-
god.
gosh,
Ours
that
was
is a long time.
20-year reunion last year, and I skipped
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Now,
I
why'd
should've
you
gone.
skip it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah.
And I could have made it.
Oh, you could have.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Austin O'Brien.
Son of Brian.
AOB.
So AOB over there too.
St.
Yeah.
Joe's?
I was Trinity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
a Southside Millwoods boy.
Yeah. How was high school for you?
It was great. I was quarterback of the football team.
Wow.
Captain of the soccer team. It was good.
Wow, that's it?
I
Holy smokes.
played basketball. I was a big sports guy in high
I
school.
was going to say, you were quite the jock.
Yeah, I was back then. Not anymore so much. But back then, after I ripped up my knee, that's pretty much it went downhill from there, right? So
Captain of, sorry.
quarterback
of the football team.
captain of the soccer team, captain of the basketball team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you enjoy more?
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed football.
Yeah.
But, I just my seasons went football, basketball, soccer. So that's
They
how
flowed nicely.
they
There's
flowed
always
nicely.
something you're doing.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
no overlap really.
No, and I won high school athlete of the year in grade 12.
Jeez.
As you
won
should if you're
grade 10
captain
high
of the two
school,
teams
yeah.
in QB.
Show them that finger that's all busted up.
Oh, just
look
a-
at that.
Oh,
This
yeah,
thing-
look at that.
Jeez.
That's from
Pointed
football.
that way.
From football?
Yeah,
I've never noticed that
yeah,
before.
so that was a provincial semifinal that we lost. I think it was. I can't remember where we were. Like we were in some small town, like Lacombe, or I can't remember.
As it usually is. You
But
know?
I broke it in, and I was like, I just left it, and it just set funny. So.
Does it feel fine?
No, it's
though?
fine.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fine.
It just doesn't
It
look
just doesn't
looks
look
funny.
good.
kind of.
So yeah,
got used to it. It just
got
feels
used
right
to it,
now.
and then they said, "Oh, if you want to reset it, you have to break it again."
Oh.
And reset. I was like, "I'm good.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
I'll be good." But no, we had a pretty good. It's funny. We had a pretty good. Our school was relatively young. I think it was only 5 years old by the time I got there because Trinity, they were just growing. So Trinity and Page came in at the same time. I think the first graduating class was like either 87 or 88. So I just got there. So our sports, we were just starting to kind of, and actually our principal was a teacher that used to teach at O'Leary, Bob Grattan.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember we were playing, when I was in grade 10, we were playing junior football in the final against O'Leary. And I remember Bob Grattan was pretty adamant that he wanted us to beat O'Leary because
Sure.
they had never beaten O'Leary in anything, like basketball, soccer,
Yeah.
anything. And that was the first time we were meeting them in the final. And he was
That'd be
pretty-
little school versus big,
big
school.
was, yeah, it was little school. And we beat him 29-0. So
Jeez.
he's pretty happy about that. Winning that. After that, I could do whatever I want. That was in the 10th grade. You beat O'Leary 29-0, you get away with anything. Like it was high school was pretty good for me. So.
Yeah, that's good. But you didn't max out in high school, though.
No,
That's a
I
good
hope,
thing. It's
hopefully not. I went
you
on
know,
to play college soccer. I played high
Yeah.
skis, and and then now I'm, things
You're
worked out.
washed up
He's going to the
sports
All-Star
writer.
game tomorrow.
Yeah, right. I'm
Worked out
kind of
well.
looking forward to that.
He just turned 50.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
happy birthday.
And
last
it's
week.
Matthew's birthday today.
Matthew's birthday. Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
No,
Thank you
I
to
think-
everyone
you know
for the
what?
wishes.
I'm 51 actually.
What? What?
I'm 51. Turned 51.
Yeah, I thought your
Yeah,
50th
50
was like a
last
year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year.
It was Tina's 50th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're,
Significant other.
yeah.
It's for her
Oh.
50th. Yeah.
Happy,
So
what, you got anything,
that was last
special?
week. We're done.
Oh, you already,
You're on to the next.
We're on to the next.
Birthdays are in the past.
50,
Move on.
50's a big one. And then after that, I think,
Your 50th
Yeah,
was something
I'm
else.
still hungover.
Oh my god.
oh my God.
Speaking of Mott's,
Oh.
I waited 10 years to
Yeah.
see him have a drink, and he had a lot of
Yeah, I
drinks.
had a
You
lot.
were
Oh,
on
I
fire that
remember your
night.
Yeah.
50th. I was
Yeah.
there.
It
Yeah.
was unreal.
Yes, that was that. I do remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It was, my kids
Yeah.
had never seen me drink,
Really?
let alone be.
Yes, I do remember your
Literally
50th.
that was
Yeah, I was
amazing.
not drinking that night because you had it. Where was this party? It was
At
like
the hall.
Yeah, it was at a hall in St. Albert.
St. Albert.
Yeah.
That's why I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
I got to drive all the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
there,
yeah,
so-
yeah. I remember inviting like Gretzky, Peter
everybody.
Schramm. I invited everybody. I think when you turn 50 and you've gone through it, and you guys, God bless you, will get through it as well to some point here in the next. Well, you got a while to go, but you can either just like some people go away with their wives or significant others, and they have just a quick getaway, or you can make your family, right? You and your kids go away, or you can then next step, uncles, aunts, cousins, or then you open it up. And I kind of thought about it, and I went, lots of people have impacted my life, and I thought let's open it up. And so I had invited some people from the Oilers. Andre Bryn was there.
Yeah, yeah.
Andre Brand.
JJ, and just some staff people that we worked with all the time. And then I thought, you know what the hell? Let's just open it up. Peter Chiarelli, Gretzky. I was inviting everybody. Gretzky was out of town.
I never responded?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. For about 2 years, he goes, hey, sorry, I couldn't make your birthday. I mean, that I think short of winning a Stanley Cup sometime before I retire, getting to know Wayne Gretzky would have to be, and I would say more and more Connor McDavid too, as we get to know him. But yeah, I had everybody there. Corey, my cameraman, had all this DJ equipment.
Yeah,
he played
it's
music.
impressive.
Oh, was he a DJ?
He was
I
DJ.
didn't know he was a
Oh,
DJ.
yeah, it was a great
Yeah,
party.
Gave Gene a great rate that
Yeah,
night.
yeah, great rate. My neighbor had, or still has, a food business, so he did the food, and
was so
yeah,
good.
it was
No,
a
it was
really.
fantastic.
It was, other than how much I drank, I really, and just so you know, I don't actually drink, but that
doesn't.
night,
I've tried with you,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Gene, I'll get you a beer. No,
No, I'm
on the
good.
road.
Like not
Gene,
a
beer,
glass of
no.
red or something?
I don't really drink at all.
Yeah.
Once in a while, we have my buddies and I get together at a lodge once a year, and I'll have like half a dozen coolers. My sugar levels will be like through the roof, and then that'll be it for the weekend. But that night, I remember my wife saying, like, should I drink or not? And I said, no, don't worry, you can drink because I'm not going to drink. About half hour, and she didn't have another drink because she goes, this guy's.
Well, the problem is that you're the
Shots.
birthday boy, and people are like, want to have a drink with you.
Yes.
Let's have a drink. Let's have a shot.
Yeah.
Let's have a drink. Right.
Yeah.
So I had a similar problem on last weekend.
Yeah.
I was going out with a friend, but because everyone wants to. They want to have that
they
one
want-
drink with you.
that's
Hey,
right.
have it, and suddenly you're 8 shots deep, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is not good.
He was about 80 shots deep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome.
And they hit you much later.
Had
Yeah,
Gretzky
oh.
rolled into that party, that would have been
oof.
epic.
Yeah,
I remember being that. Would have been epic had Gretzky.
Yeah,
rolled
my buddies are all big sports fans, so they liked seeing guys that they recognize that cover the Oilers and cover the beat. So yeah, it was a fun 50th.
Yeah, it was a good day.
I like that Bill Gretzky responds like,
Yeah.
with that's just.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
That's pretty
Gretzky sent
sweet.
a message to Jack the other day because it was Jack's birthday.
yeah, Jack's 50th.
Jack's
yeah.
50th.
Yeah.
So Gretzky sent him a message. And
Yeah, and I sent, and I know you know the Gretzky's well through Ty, and I sent Wayne a message on Friday, which was his most recent birthday, and he sent a message back, and
he did get back to you. That's I imagine
Yeah.
he get 200 texts on his
yeah,
birthday.
he
Yeah,
did
he's probably gets
he did
quite a
get
bit of
back to me,
messages.
and he just said, "Hey, thanks a lot." And he looks like a lot of fun. Unreal what
Yeah.
the Oilers, are doing.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yep, it is unreal what they're doing, actually."
It's funny,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say he knows who's texting him.
Oh, yeah, for sure he does.
he'll be like, I'm not
Yeah.
answering that one.
Yeah,
and then he'll be
yeah.
like, do you think I should answer it? No, leave that one.
Yeah, imagine if you're Wayne Gretzky, like, the text would be always flying.
Doesn't he constantly change his numbers though? Because I know I've had an old number for him, and I've had
You
like 2 or
know
3
what?
different numbers.
Oh, that's actually really smart.
yeah, he
it's-
keeps changing his numbers.
So,
So the people that he want to have your number would
Yeah.
constantly just
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
getting the new one.
Yeah, it's interesting because we went through that recently. I had texted him and I hadn't heard back, and he was always excellent.
Yeah.
So then you start checking around and you start hearing that, and you're like, well, maybe I got an old number. And then I ended up getting, like, Paul Coffey had a number, and Warren Reichel, one of the scouts who played with him in LA, had a number. And so now I'm confused. I wasn't even sure what number I
Yeah,
started
exactly.
with. So
I don't even ask anymore.
So I
I'm
just
like, okay.
I just
Yeah.
text him, and he just sent me a quick note.
yeah,
and,
well, that's good. Yeah, because
I-
he has those revolving numbers that anyone's got a recent number for Gretzky type thing.
Yeah. But he's very good at responding if you're writing an article and you're doing something on whatever, Streaks or McDavid, or he's quite considering who he is and the amount of texts and the amount of people sort of pawing at him.
Yeah.
He's excellent at that.
yeah, so that's good.
You're going to All-Star game.
I am.
But then the Oilers are back in Vegas next week. How fun is it right now to be at the rink with this team?
You know
that's
what?
won
It's fun.
16
It's
straight.
been a lot of fun. Guys are having fun. What's funny about this streak is how much the bounces are going their way. Like in Calgary, Sam flips the puck in front of the net, hits the goalie, goes in. Yeah, the streak is 15 now, right? Like the other night, Nashville, how many times they hit the post, how many times the puck just rolled on the other side. It's just when you're on a heater like this, everything is going your way. Everything goes your way. So it's gonna be interesting. And we were joking with Stu Skinner, and he goes, "Well, considering that, like I was like, you guys may never lose again." Like jokingly, right? You say, "Yeah, you may never lose again." He's like, "Well, considering the number of games we have, we'll probably lose again." So, but I'd like to see them break the record. It'd be good if they won in Vegas. They're gonna be really fired up for that game because I still think that scab of Game 5 is still there, and they still pick at it every now and then. So I think that's going to be a motivation. And then you go into Anaheim to try and break the record, and Anaheim is not playing very well right now. So it's there for the taking. Like, you look at opportunity, and I think when we looked at them going into Calgary, and you go, hey, they go into Calgary, then they got Columbus, Chicago, and Nashville. Suddenly you go 13, 14, 15, 16. Hey, that's totally possible now. Yeah. So it's exciting times, and God forbid, we lived through a lot of losing streaks.
Yeah.
Well, just this season. Going the flip of this season of what it was at the start of this season to now what it is.
Well, I'll have to go back and see if there's ever a team that was absolutely dead last in the league standings will go up and ever won the Stanley Cup. St. Louis was in kind of a similar situation.
Well, they were last, weren't they?
Yeah, were they dead last?
I think
January
of the calendar
2019.
flip.
Yeah, they started the new year last. I would say, and you guys were around the room. The Friday before Saturday's game that room was just bumping.
Yeah.
As it was, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just kind of what you heard, what you felt. And after Saturday's game, it was exciting. A lot of kids, right? Because it's the start
Everyone
of the
was
break,
leaving,
and it was kind of like a kids' day at the rink on Saturday. But Friday, the day before the game, I thought, I've never. Someone will say, well, they've never won that many games in a row. Correct. But the room was just, I don't know, it was just so vibrant, so comfortable, so confident, so relaxed. Like, it just was, it was kind of everything. And I thought, these guys are truly feeling like they've got a chance to do something special. And I think, even I lose track sometimes. Now I know but is it 11? Is it 12? Is it 13? So franchise record done, Canadian record done. And I think you're right. When they got through kind of the week, now you're going into territory that no one has ever gone to other than Columbus and Vegas. So it's there for them. It's ironic that there's a break. More ironic that they play Vegas, who I would say is there for all the Battle of Alberta and Vancouver and all that. That's their playoff. Their arch rival now. That's a team I think everyone knows they got to beat in the West. It'll be unbelievable to see how they can do it, and if they can do it. But it sure is a lot of fun. I mean, it's for all the tough times early this season for a decade. And I'm happy for those young guys that have been through the tough losses and a lot of losses to get a chance to just have some fun.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and it's funny because people break, like I was joking with Zach Hyman, right? And I was like, well, this is Edmonton. So, if you guys aren't losing, we have to criticize wins. We have to critique wins. That's what we're doing now. We're at the point where we're critiquing wins, right? They didn't play very well against Chicago. They didn't play very well against, they're winning games, right? And then obviously the critique is now, they haven't beaten Boston. They haven't beaten Colorado. Right. They haven't beaten Vancouver. They haven't beaten some of those teams above them.
It wasn't Murderer's Row.
It wasn't Murderer's Row. But they beat the teams. But you still got to win those games. 100%. You just play the teams that are in front of you. What are they going to say? Well,
they literally swept January.
It's one of those. It's so easy to just win 16 straight. Anyone would have done it, right? Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you're taking on.
Yeah.
There's usually a stumble somewhere, and the Oilers haven't allowed that stumble to happen to them.
Yeah. No, you talk to people, and I think McDavid said this. You couldn't believe the team in the '80s didn't win this many. The fact is, there were ties back then.
Yeah, there was
so games ended up in ties. So if you look at the times that they won in overtime this year, back then those games would have ended up in a tie. So the streak would have been over. Yeah. So, but it's you play by the rules there now, and so I'm really looking forward to Vegas. I'm really happy I get to go. There's going to be so much energy on that team, in that rink. They're going to be so fired up, and they're going to be well rested. So
is that a good thing having this break? Is this good for the streak, or is this you're putting a cold? You're having to shake off some rust, come off, and
I think it's
get
fantastic.
It back going.
I thought they were running out of steam a little bit, and it's a mentally taxing thing. Like, oh my God, we're gonna win again. Like, they always say one at a time, but it adds up, and then you're like, Jesus, we won 14, we've won 15, and I really did think that towards the end they were kind of running on fumes a little bit, and had not been for Stuart Skinner, who's playing so well, that streak would have been over 4 games ago. Whoa. So I think this break is great. It's going to rejuvenate them all, and then let's put another 6-7 wins together and go from there.
Speaking to that, Chris Knobloch put Draisaitl and McDavid together for those last few games. It felt like he was just trying to push them over the line. That's what I perceived it as when he was telling us in his press conferences.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I agree. I mean, Connor had was sort of human, right? A point a game, had a streak going, but he wasn't putting up the numbers that we're used to. And I mean, that coach, I feel like Zach Hyman for a long time after Jay was let go, and he still does it. Sometimes when you talk well about your current coach, people perceive that as you're talking negatively about your previous coach.
Yeah.
And I don't put the two together. They're talking about the new coach. That's it. It's got nothing to do with the old coach, because he had the best winning percentage of any Oiler coach in history. But the new coach, I've never seen a coach make more right decisions before games, during games. Like,
Everything's working out for him.
yeah, like, I mean, you talk about Stuart Skinner and, starting Pickard and flipping the lines. And he just, even when he, put McLeod back at center on the, I'm like, this guy's, he's doing it all. And it's not just him, it's the coaching staff, but everything they seem to be doing just leads to victory. And I think it starts with him. He I don't know. I don't think he was lying. I don't know if he was joking when he said he hadn't heard about the 17 straight
Yeah,
wins.
I don't know if I
he
bought
wouldn't
that.
lie, but maybe he was just kidding around, or
Yeah.
But I just, he's leading, which is what a coach needs to do. He's tinkered. He's given people the opportunity to continue to do their jobs, that being players and coaches, and that's how we find ourselves, along with the goalie who's won 12 straight. Great penalty kill, emerging power play. I mean,
Backup who's producing when he goes in, and Pickard.
God
he does
bless
what he needs
Calvin
to do.
Pickard. I mean, you sit there and you don't play for 8 days or 6 or 10, and then boom, you're in there and a streak's on the line. Then they had Corey Perry, and I thought Corey had a good first game. So it's all coming up great for them. I agree with you. I think they were running out of steam.
Yeah.
Me individually, I would have liked to have seen them play 1 or 2 more to tie and beat the record.
Keep that momentum going a little bit?
Just a little bit, like another 3-4 days. But we won't know until they get back whether there's the break meant anything to them. I think Vegas is 5-1-1 in their last 7, because they went through a rough spell, but they seem to be finding their game again. So couldn't ask for a better night. You'll be there. You'll be there.
Yep. Birthday boy will be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We'll all be there.
It works out great. It'll be a fun night.
And it's Super Bowl week in Vegas that week.
Yeah.
So
It's
gonna
crazy.
be-
6-3-1 Vegas. The last
It's gonna be
10.
crazy.
6-3-1. Okay.
And then there's usually, it's a Vegas game. There's usually a lot of other fans that just head down anyways.
Yeah, and
Right? So it's going to be a good atmosphere. It's kind of like when the Leafs come to town, there's a good mix.
Yeah.
It's I feel like I've never been to T-Mobile for an Oilers game.
You're gonna
You
love
guys
it.
have.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's one where I'm
Get there
assuming it's
early.
pretty similar.
Get there early, see the pregame show.
Yes.
Like before skate?
Yeah, they do
or
like a
warm up or after the
procession
warm
into
up?
Right after the warm up.
Yeah, okay.
Hang out outside.
The
Yeah.
show
The
is
whole-
unbelievable.
Yeah, everything
Hang
is
out outside.
wonderful.
Yeah, get there early and just take it all in.
Yeah.
It's the little production they do before the game.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking forward to it.
Oh, it'll be
it's
great.
It's like a little skit they do with it's
It's like
actually
medieval
really good.
times
Yeah.
meets
Yeah, and if
hockey
you're there,
meets
the
Cirque du
warm up
Soleil.
they have the Elvis impersonators and the showgirls behind
Showgirls,
the
yeah.
visitors net.
Oh, really?
During the warm up, distracting the players.
I like
It's
that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think last year they would have the Elvis, the showgirls,
Showgirls, yeah.
and then they had like the Thunder from Down Under guys, so those like male strippers or
Yeah.
whatever, and they had them behind the glass. It just
Brilliant.
the show they've put on there is absolutely
Yeah.
everyone was kind of a little bit it's Vegas, who's gonna come watch? But what I know is because I covered that run and I covered the Stanley Cup final run last year, and I talked to a lot of people from Vegas. And they said that this team is our team. It's the first time our team is there. And the entire community rallied around it. And I remember a lot of people that live in the area would say to me, I just want to make it a point that locals never go to the Strip. The only time we go to the Strip is to watch the game and then we leave.
Yeah.
So for them, like 1 million to show up or whatever it was
Yeah,
for the
for the
parade,
parade,
it was
yeah.
unbelievable. But they've really embraced that team as their own. Now, the baseball, the Raiders, they moved in, not so much their team. The baseball team coming in, not so much their team.
They don't want the baseball
But
team.
this is their AAA team does well.
Well, there was a video of like Chamber of Commerce, breakfast or luncheon or whatever it is, and the person was trying to fire up the crowd like Las Vegas A's. How does that sound? And it was just crickets.
Yeah.
And like, let's come on, make some noise. And no one made noise. She even said like, "Can you hear me in the back?" It was just that bad. They have no interest in the baseball team.
Speaking of that, the Tropicana is being torn down last days. Like
the
April
hotel?
After April.
Yeah, that's where they're putting the ballpark. Sorry, yeah.
No, that's one of the
Famous
famous.
Tropicana, yeah.
I remember going to Vegas. I think the first time I went was like 91, I think. Yeah. And, we heard of Vegas. For older viewers, there used to be a show called Vegas. Dan Tana, Robert Urich was so the only Vegas I'd ever seen was Vegas on TV. And so many times what you see on TV isn't necessarily real life. And then I went to Vegas. I go, oh my gosh, this is the way, lights are on and the strip and everything like that. But on Saturday after the game, I bet you I had a dozen people tell me, I'm going to Vegas. And
Yes.
I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas. Now, I don't know, Matthew, whether people are going there like for a first time to just enjoy the experience and the atmosphere, whether they're now going because of the streak or a combination. But it is very Toronto, Edmonton-like when it's here, there. Maybe even more this time. It's going to be for a game in February after the All-Star break. It's going to be off the charts with everything on the line and Cup champs, and so I really look forward to it. But a lot of people are taking off to Vegas and doing what you guys are doing. We're going for work. Yeah. You guys are as well, but it's the experience that you go for.
No, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's just, and like I said, it's Super Bowl week.
Yeah, and Super Bowl week.
And then the game Tuesday is media day at the Super Bowl. So
it's Tuesday.
Tuesday's media day. So it's gonna be crazy. Like it's
We tried getting last minute because this all came up in January for us to get to do Radio Row even. And we were too late to get into Radio Row. We didn't plan that. It would have been because there's like 600 audio outlets being accredited on Radio Row and stuff, and they just pump out a bunch of people. Like the Super Bowl, like that is almost what's going to be exciting about being Vegas too, is just seeing what it's like during Super Bowl week as everyone goes to Vegas. Like all the shows are. I think that Fontainebleau, the new one or whatever, or Fontainebleau. Dan Le Batard's doing a show from there. I think.
Yes, he is.
Dan Patrick is there.
Dan Patrick. That's right.
Dan Le Batard's doing it. I can't remember where he's doing it. With Stu Gatz, they're doing it somewhere, and like everyone comes.
Everyone's doing their show from Vegas, and it'll be awesome. And then you got all these people that you can drive in from LA, right? Like the whole half of Los Angeles will be in Vegas that weekend.
The rates were really good.
Well, because it's early in the week, I was actually surprised too.
Yeah.
Like
the hotel rates?
Yeah, the hotel rates, and I think it was because our travel secretary. She's booking our trips, and she's like, "Well, that's Super Bowl week." Because like I know if I have to stay off the strip, I'd be fine. I'd stay off the strip. Then she goes back to me, goes, "Actually, you know what? The rates are pretty reasonable for early in the week. I'm sure towards the end of the week, you look at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they'll get
go up really big.
Yeah. So until then,
I was in Arizona last year, the week before the Super Bowl. I think it was. We left like the early of the week of Super Bowl. And as I was looking for Airbnbs and stuff like around the Super Bowl, because it's also Waste Management in Phoenix at the time. It's one where like all the reservations too are like you have to book 5 days of your reservation. Like there was no 2 nights. You got to do like 5 nights where they want to really get it up there and like up the prices and then forced you how long you could stay for.
Surge pricing.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegas is, Bill Foley, what he spent $500 million and money well spent the way they've, been able to accomplish what they've accomplished. And it's a wonderful city. I mean, and the fact that they've got this hockey team that has been, to a cup final in their inaugural season, now won a cup. I'm sure a lot of teams kind of are pissed off. Like, here's this team that shows up out of nowhere in a city that, even the league kind of thought, well, let's see how this goes. And next thing you know, they've built not a dynasty, but a club that's in it. I mean, even when they missed the playoffs, they were still in the 90s for points. It wasn't like they, had a 65-point season. So, I think everybody, is pushing for someone to knock them off. And Edmonton would be, our best choice, considering what's happened to them the last couple of seasons, and particularly last one. And you even hear Leon and guys say they were still kind of hungover from that loss and being beaten by Vegas. And it's going to be a great time. I look forward to getting there. Then the Oilers have a couple of days actually.
They're going golfing.
They're spending some time. I think
Palm Springs,
team building and and so away we go. We see where it takes us all. But what a great day it'll be. And
I've been on that team building trip. It's fun.
Yes.
Well, they're golf. Don't they? They used to golf with Gerald Ford.
Oh yeah. Back
Because he was a
in the-
big
They
Oiler
can't
fan,
anymore
wasn't
on
he?
DVD.
Can't-
Newsflash.
Well, I know all the players can't anymore. But they used to, like, there was a connection with Gerald Ford and Peter Pocklington. And
Yes.
Kelly Buckberg, I don't know if he's ever told you this story or not. So Kelly Buckberg has a great story about this. So the Gerald Ford, basically back in the 90s when Kelly Buckberg was the captain of the hockey team. And Kelly told me, I got this straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
He told me this story. So apparently he was the captain, and Bill Twelly, the old PR guy, said that, hey, you're golfing in the Gerald Ford's foursome tomorrow. Don't screw around.
Yeah.
Behave yourself tonight. Be at the tee box at 8:13. Don't be late. Oh, and Kelly's like, no problem. We're just gonna hang out in the room and play cards tonight. It'll be a low key night. Well, hanging out in the room playing cards apparently turned into an all nighter, drinking and playing cards in the room. And Kelly said that he was sitting there, and Doug Waite. They played all night, and then Doug Waite said to him, "Hey Kelly, what time's your tea time with the president?" He goes, "Oh, it's 8:13 or something like that." He goes, "It's 7:45 now." dude."
Wow.
So he said he ran to his room. He jumped in the shower real quick, grabbed his clubs. He said he was running down to the tee box with essentially his flip flops and his golf bag and he said, yeah. And he said Bill Twilly was just so mad at him. And he was like, it's still stinking of booze and cigars. They've been drinking and smoking all day. He was so mad at him. And then Kelly said he only lasted about 6 holes. In the
Oh,
other
is that
room.
right? Oh, with the president.
With the president, with the former president. So that's a great story when Kelly tells it.
Yeah,
It's
imagine.
unbelievable. He has everyone on the, because he just thought Dougie Waite like, what time's your team? And actually, when Doug Waite was here, when they were doing the
The Hall of Fame?
Wall of Fame
Yeah.
thing, I asked him about that. He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember that." He says, "Yeah, we were
that-
playing cards all night." He says, and he goes, "The night just got away from us. We
Yeah.
were playing cards, we were drinking, we're having a blast." And suddenly, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. And I knew he had a
Bucky
tea time. I
doing
just
that.
couldn't remember what time. 7:30 or whatever, 7:45. I can just imagine the panic in Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Going, "Oh my God. I gotta go play golf."
Just not any ordinary partner,
Who you
No.
golf with today? Oh, former president.
Yeah,
No big
yeah.
deal.
But no, it'll be good if you're looking at this. They go to Vegas. If they can put in a great game there, get it to 17, then they have that golf.
Yeah.
The golf outing will be great.
Just don't be hungover for the Ducks game.
Well,
They have the
they
extra
got
day.
the practice. They have the extra day. They
Yeah.
have the practice in Palm Springs. I think they're practicing in Palm Springs.
Yeah,
and then they're going into Anaheim. So I'm driving from Vegas. If they win, my
you
plan is
continue
to
on.
driving from Vegas into Palm Springs to Anaheim. So
Yeah, it's amazing the Oilers of the past, some of the stories they have and the connections, through, obviously it started with the boys on the bus and Wayne, and then it kind of has continued on to there. And now, people all over want to kind of meet, get to see, hang out with McDavid, and times have, changed.
Yeah.
I think regarding, how many all-nighters they pull. Like people often say, "Oh, are they out doing this?" And I said, not that much.
Not that much,
I said, it's game night. You fly to the next city. It's 1:30 in the morning. You get in. The next day's a practice day. Then you have a game. Sure, there's some times where they have a day off on the road. Of course, but they're going to enjoy themselves as much as they can within reason. But it's just a different time. And I think Connor sets a certain standard as well. Can you imagine, and I'm like making this up, but let's say a guy's pulling an all-nighter and comes to practice the next day, and first guy he bumps into is McDavid, and he smells like booze, let's say, and you're going, what are you going to say? Is the captain works harder than anybody else, be it from this player X, to do that kind of stuff. So it's a different time. They still have fun, but it's just different than, just imagining a current Oiler doing that seems virtually impossible.
well, I think back then they chartered flights too. They didn't fly right after the game. So
Yeah.
now here
They took commercial.
They took
You mean?
commercial. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they took commercial. What do they call it? Mainlining. Is that what they-
mainlining. Yeah.
That's what
Mainlining.
Where you're at the whim of whatever the flight is. You're not
exactly. But they're always flying the next morning after the game.
Yeah.
So they play the game, then they go for dinner, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll have to be at the airport or the bus till 9 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but now they're gone right after the game, and they're on to the next city, and then usually they have a skate or a practice. Like you're still on those charters. We used to be on those charters. They were a lot of fun, but it was like bang, 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 bang. It was like there was really not So when I got thrown off the charter, or the some of the media guys
not individually.
Not individually. I didn't do anything to upset anyone. But our post media got thrown off the charter. Actually, I enjoyed it because we could enjoy the city after a game. We weren't rushed to get to the next city. Now, on the next morning, we got to catch a 6 a.m. flight to hopefully get there in time for practice.
Yeah.
But at least we could go out for dinner and kind of enjoy the city a little bit, as opposed to just like hotel, rink. And, half the time these guys probably don't even know what city they're in. Like, there's times where I'm like, I can't remember what room I'm in, what my hotel room number is. I'm just like, I would blank. Like, it'd be go one hotel to the next. So.
DVD's a huge Buffalo guy.
You like Buffalo?
Loves Buffalo.
Buffalo? No, I can't stand Buffalo. I remember I was in Buffalo for Super Bowl. We were talking about that. The Oilers were playing Buffalo on the Monday, I think, or the Tuesday. So we were in there Sunday night. Now, have you ever been to downtown Buffalo? Yeah, don't go. There's downtown Buffalo looks like there hasn't been.
Good thing we don't have an agreement with Buffalo tourism here.
Yeah, exactly. Downtown Buffalo looks like they haven't built a new building there since the 1960s. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm like, where is the modern buildings in downtown? There isn't. All the buildings are 100 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Like, there's nothing. And then I remember we were at a hotel, and then, okay, well, we got to find a place to watch the game. We got to go to find a bar. And we did find a bar, Buffalo. There was no one in the bar. It was Super Bowl Sunday. There was like,
was it
4
Buffalo
people in the
Wild
bar.
Wings?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was a bar right
B-dubs.
downtown, a couple of blocks away. And I'm like, where's everybody? She goes, it's downtown Buffalo on a Monday. What are you expecting?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here? Type thing. Like, oh, I'm here visiting. He's like, why would you visit Buffalo in January? When it's like, whatever, minus
Business
20. He's like,
trip.
it's a business trip. So it's, so Buffalo is an interesting town.
I like the games in Buffalo because of proximity to Canada,
Yeah.
right? It feels like one of those games where the Oilers, or if you're the Canadians or whichever Canadian team, I do like that. In Buffalo, it's a hardcore hockey town.
It is.
They love their Bills, of course. They love their football, but it's a little bit like Edmonton is more expansive, more modern than Buffalo. But when it comes to hardcore hockey,
point.
they love their Sabres.
Like the heart and soul of the people are the
For
same.
sure,
and similar.
for sure. And, middle class, hardworking, blue collar, there's a lot of similarities. For sure, Buffalo's a little bit, when you're in the same state as New York City, and it's Toronto's not
Can you
that
just
far
trash
away.
the city, please?
I can't. We're on our way
You
there.
know what the thing about
the
Buffalo
high
is
road
apparently the suburbs are really nice. Like, everyone lives in the suburbs of Buffalo. So if you live in Buffalo, you live in the suburbs. It's kind of like Detroit.
Everything
that way,
you were
right?
saying
And the
is kind of
suburbs
reminding
nice.
me of the Oilers pre-ice district, though. In a
Well,
sense.
there's some
that
new
where it
buildings
was. There wasn't.
downtown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he's right about the buildings are from the 60s and
They haven't
before.
built a new
But
building.
there was,
downtown
there was
in the
never a
60s.
reason to come downtown. Almost, it was you'd stay in your suburbs.
Yeah.
You'd go there, and you just wouldn't come here. And then Ice District happens, and now there's still work to be done to get more people downtown. COVID did not help that.
No, it didn't.
But you have the Ice District. You have 104th Street. You have Jasper. There's a lot of things that are now there.
Yeah, they're starting to get there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we're much better downtown. But like everything you're saying, I kind of just thinking as a kid, that's Edmonton.
That's
to me.
Edmonton.
When I was a kid.
Downtown
It's
Buffalo.
what we've grown away from.
I was shocked. Super Bowl Sunday, and there's 4 people in the bar. Like, it's Super Bowl Sunday.
I know.
Like, doesn't anyone want to watch this game? But it was. Buffalo wasn't my favorite destination. I haven't been there in a while, to be honest with you.
We were talking about like the Golden Knights coming in and Bill Foley getting his team a Stanley Cup within 6 years, getting to the Cup final the first season. Could you imagine being a Buffalo Sabres fan? Going through what that organization is still going through and has. This is beyond the decade of darkness, what we experienced covering the Oilers, watching them here, and seeing the Golden Knights and the success they're having and going, hey, Pagulas, let's go. And then they're floundering still.
Yeah, I'm surprised this season. I didn't expect that from Buffalo.
No.
I thought that this season was going to be a bit of a breakthrough for them, that they would be a playoff-bound team or really close. But they just, we remember the Oilers for all those years. They just couldn't, no matter how hard they tried, no matter how much money you spent, no matter how great a facility you play in, how fans support you and all those things. They just can't seem to get it going. I mean, I love Tage Thompson. I mean, that kid is
Phenomenal
player. And they got Darlene on defense, another great player, I would say.
Yeah.
They don't, I guess the results are bad, but they don't seem to have that bad of a team. But
No, they just can't put it together.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame there. They couldn't put it together. And you think about, they couldn't put it together. They were supposed to build around Jack Eichel. That never happened.
Right.
And then, we're going to build around Dali, and that didn't happen. We're going to build around Power. That didn't happen. Like, it's just so many pieces
Owen Power,
there, and
another
they
kid,
just haven't been able to put it all together.
Have you talking to visiting media, scouts, people from other teams? When you ask about the Sabres, they went all in on analytics, and no middle ground, no happy medium. It was way too much, and they're doing digital scouting instead of actually having boots on the ground. I'm like, what? Yeah, so that's a theory that's being floated around when you talk to people from
That they decided to go
other
that
teams.
route.
Yeah, they just went too far with that, and then they have all these wonderful pieces, and it's not coming together.
Yeah.
I maybe because I'm old and I don't want to learn it, but I don't really understand analytics. Like I hear, suggested or all these
Expected
numbers.
There's some good indicators there.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that. The analytics were probably one of the great storylines for Puljujarvi, right? He's supposed to and he's expected to, but he's
Didn't.
not.
Yeah.
He did not do that. And I mean, I hope it'd be great if he makes Pittsburgh or can get up to Pittsburgh because I believe he signed an AHL or a tryout there. But I don't understand analytics. Like to me, I'm still goals, assists, points, save percentage, goals against average, wins, losses. I don't they're expected to do.
Expected. I think to me, the basis of analytics is what happened in the past. You expect is going to happen in the future, and I don't necessarily agree to that.
Right.
I think what happened in the past is in the past, and that's not necessarily going to happen in the future. So you're trying to predict the future with what happened in the past. And I think that's one of the big flaws of analytics. Another big flaw, there's some variables in hockey you just can't put on a stat sheet. How many puck battles you win out of the corner, your hockey sense, to know where to go. When that was the Puljujarvi's problem. He had no idea where to go on the ice. When they didn't have the puck, when they did have the puck, when he had the puck, when he didn't have the puck, you can just tell this poor kid had no hockey sense. He had none. And I think they were trying to drive the point to him, and he was a guy that you would tell something and he would fail to do it over and over and over and over again. And I think that was because he just didn't get it. And I think that's something you can't see on a stat sheet. You can't see the fact that
you can't do chemistry.
No, can't do chemistry, can't do puck battles, can't do and you fail to see, if you're looking at a computer numbers, you fail to see how many times Puljujarvi was lost on the ice, and we could see it from the press box because he has no idea where he's supposed to be right now.
I have an example of that, and I felt so bad for him. It was when he had no confidence. I think it was at some point last season. He was playing with McDavid in this instance and time frame, and he was carrying the puck up the ice through the neutral zone. McDavid was going off, and he had one hand on his stick, and he was pointing to Puljujarvi to dump it in.
Dump it in.
And Puljujarvi passed it to Connor, who was going off, and I'm like, that's where he doesn't have it. He's not feeling good, and I felt awful for him.
McDavid's like, I'm done playing with this guy, and the whole rink is like, he's like, dump it in,
pointing,
and he passes it to him.
Yeah.
Well, I remember training camp. So it would have been his last season here, and it was training camp, and people were talking about him and just building off what Tom said, and they were talking about his confidence, and he said, you need confidence every day. And I find confidence is I don't know if it's a buzzword, but I hear that more and more from the most elite players. Leon said it the other day about the turnaround after the game, and he said, 50% of it was confidence. We just did, and here's Leon, Hart Ross Trophy winner, scoring So, and even Connor's addressed that. And so I feel with Yessa that he just, and not that we want to digress to, but it's not there. And when you have it, it's hard to keep it. And when you don't have it, it's almost impossible to get it, confidence. And he's one of those kids, not to mention hips, and if the hockey IQ isn't quite what it needs to be. So we see if he makes it in in Pittsburgh. But I'd like to see the kid get a shot and just see if he can make it back into the NHL, whether it's as a third line winger or whatever it might be. But they gave him lots of chances here, and it just wasn't meant to work.
Well, they had chances here. They had chances in Carolina. They ran out of. It's the trying to drive a point home. And if you're a coach and you're trying to play a structured system, and you put in a kid that just doesn't understand structure, doesn't understand system, it's just throwing a wrench in the machine. Like it's not going to work. And I think that's the problem with Jesse Puljujarvi. To me, he was the kid that was always the biggest and strongest and fastest growing up. Just give me the puck and get out of the way.
Yeah.
And no coach told him, you go here, go there. They said, do whatever you want. Yes, have at it. And that got him to the NHL. And then at the NHL, it's very structured. There's guys that are as big, as fast, a lot smarter, and he just couldn't handle it. Yeah, he's a nice kid. I get it. He's a fan favorite. He's a nice kid. But, the AHL is full of nice people.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of nice people. And I get it. He was lucky he wasn't trampled by the buffalo and became the bison king here. Yeah. But hey, this guy's naive enough to go and try and pet a bison.
The bison king.
Don't get trampled. It happens.
He didn't.
Bisons have trampled people in the past.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about analytics, though, that you said was that they try to take the past to predict the future. But isn't that anything? Isn't that any? Like, we're always trying to predict the future. Like, if you're using the eye test, you're trying to predict what the player is going to progress into being. If you're drafting, you're trying to predict what they're going to be.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's everything we do, even goals, assists. You try like, this is a 20 goal scorer 3 times. Yeah. He's going to keep that going. You're guessing just still what they could go do. So it's.
I just never understood. Like, I always hear expected goals, and I'm like, I maybe because I don't put any real time and effort into understanding it. Well, their expected goals is, and I'm like, wow. Is that because of what their goals were in the past? That's what they're. I remember the Oilers early in the season. There were all these great stats or analytics, and maybe they've come through. I think it's more
that's coming to soccer too. The expected goals and stuff, and it's after a match they'll be like, this team was expected for 3 goals versus 1. And like, the score says 1-0. I don't care. That's what I care about.
Yeah, I think the issue is that it's just. There's other factors in there. You can't just go heavy based on one. But you can, and my argument is, you can make up an analytic or find an analytic that will be a positive to whatever player you want.
Okay.
You can spin those numbers any way you want, right? And I think that's the sample size or whatever, you can spin it any way you want. And so was McDavid better because Puljujarvi was on the ice with him? That's the argument a lot of analytics guys say. Really? Because have you seen him now without him on the ice? He's pretty good still, right? So it wasn't. I don't think Puljujarvi was driving McDavid, as people would say, right? So it was just one of those things, and it got to a point where Connor said, "I can't play with this kid. He's a nice enough kid. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't get it." And I think I don't know if he ever will. So it's just one of those things.
I hope Dusty's not.
He's recording an Achy Breaker.
It's become a shtick now. He's
recording an Achy Breaky podcast, some song from the 90s country they're talking about. So he's not listening right now, so we're good.
When you fall in love with a player, you never see their flaws, right? I was a huge Tony Romo guy. Like, I was like, he can't do anything wrong. Yeah. Right, and then he drop a snap and like dime. Oh, that wasn't his fault. And you start making excuses for the player. And I think I'm getting into that with Dax. Like, I only see the good things about Dax Prescott, and not like a lot of people are ready to quit on him. I'm a huge Cowboys fan.
He's good. He's really good.
He's exceptional quarterback. Mike McCarthy's the problem in that, and I've said that for the last 3 years.
You yell it.
I yell it, and no one listens to me.
It. He yells it.
Just like I did with Griffin Reinhart. I said, don't draft freaking Reinhart, and we yelled it. No one would listen to us.
Well, they didn't draft him, but they made the trade.
They made the trade for him.
I remember talking when
I was live on Struddy with Struddy on.
Yeah, I remember you tweeted something, and Bob Green. I love Greener, great guy.
Yeah, I still see him once in a while.
He's not happy with me.
He's so funny too.
He's not happy with you.
He's about to do his availability at the draft after the Reinhardt trade and the Talbot trade and the McDavid draft. And Greener comes up to me. He goes, "Geez, Tommy, what the hell is DVD's problem?" I'm like, I don't know.
He was all in agreement with me.
I agree with
my exact tweet was like, "What are the Oilers doing? They shouldn't be trading for Griffin Reinhardt. They should have drafted Barzal."
But they were going to take Eriksson Ek. I know. They didn't even have Barzal. He wasn't their guy.
Ridiculous they didn't have Barzal up there. So,
but I remember Greener just being like, why is DVD so mad? Jeez, he knows how good Griff is. I was like,
I knew. Griffin Reinhardt, I was fortunate that I got to spend 7 years watching junior hockey in Medicine Hat, because then you can see the development of the kids, right? So I could see what junior went on to have success. And there's a lot of juniors who are like, man, this guy's going to be an NHL star. Never made it. And then you have other guys that are like kind of a grinder guy, and then he has a 10-year NHL career. So you kind of start to see the tendencies in development. I'm sure you're the same with when you were in Lethbridge, right? You see the tendencies in development. Okay, this guy I can see. This guy's he may not be the flashiest guy, but he does the little things well. He's gonna have a 10-year career as
Curtis
a third-line
Lazar.
guy. Curtis Lazar, Vern Fiddler.
Yeah,
Vern Fiddler
Vern's
wasn't a
great-
huge junior star. He was a very solid, good. Became one of the best third-line centers in the NHL there for a while, right?
Yeah, a really nice career.
Yeah,
He's
so
a funny guy,
he's
too.
a great guy, and
Very funny.
And he
Yeah.
almost signed in Edmonton. His mom wanted him to sign in Edmonton. I talked to his mother, but he said, I don't want to play in Edmonton. We'll go Dallas instead.
Yeah, he's worked.
He lives there.
Kid,
He plays
His
for the
kid
Oil
plays
Kings.
for
Right.
the Royal Kings now. Yeah.
yeah, which is he was very. I saw Vern this summer at the rink. Or
Yeah, Vern was around this summer.
Yeah, and
Jerome
so-
was around this summer because Jerome's youngest. He's 15 now.
Right,
He's going to
yeah.
play with the Oil Kings full-time next year.
Joe.
He
and
made
the
his
other
debut.
kids in Kelowna.
Tig. Is it
Teach?
Titch? Yeah,
Yeah.
Titch. He's having a really good year.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
Yeah.
really
Great bloodlines and storylines. I did want to ask about Tony Romo because I do watch the NFL when he does the broadcast. He is trending after every broadcast.
Because it's going backwards.
Yeah.
His broadcast career.
You think so?
It's a lot of ripping of him now.
Yeah,
That he's
that's what I
not
find.
saying, like, doesn't say anything anymore.
He used to predict.
Well,
right?
he used to predict the play, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. Maybe they said tone that down, or maybe the coaches
Feels
are
like
mad,
it.
or maybe like I almost get a sense like so he would see the team line up. And he goes, oh, they're lined up in a 4-3. This guy's going to go this way. This guy's going to go this way. He's going to fake the handoff there. He's going to throw the ball over the top. And it would happen exactly like that. So I'm thinking, okay, if I'm a coach in the booth, I'm listening to that and trying to relay that to my defense, right? So I wonder if some coaches said, hey, man, stop telling people what we're going to do.
Like,
a victim of his own success.
It is. It might be said, stop doing that because, you're giving it away.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like the NFL or somebody came to him and said, stop predicting the play. Stop telling everyone exactly what every team's going to do. And he doesn't do that anymore. Now he's reactionary. Now he reacts to the play. And so I get a sense that he got pushed in that direction where they said, we want you to talk about the play after it happens, not predict before that. Because he was so good at that.
I know.
He could drop the play and it would happen.
Yeah.
And I honestly think there's some NFL teams that were like, hey, we can't have this guy basically telling other teams what we're going to do.
Good point.
Yeah, there was a story a couple years ago, 1 or 2 years, where CBS was frustrated that Romo was apparently not prepping anymore. Like enough. Like he wasn't trying to develop better. And they're starting to be like, well, this guy's now maybe plateaued as a broadcaster. And like this week's game, I was just trying to find it. Like one of the quotes that he had, which people ripped him for, was in games like this, the ball matters more than any game. And people are just like, well, what analysis is that?
Yeah.
Like, what are you giving it? So like, that's where Tony Romo's gone to a point where it's just, he just throws out random lines and he's not helping break down the game or what's going on. He doesn't predict anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're just here to say, what a play, you know, and it's give us something more. So if fans like see Greg Olsen, they're going, this
He's
guy's
become very
amazing.
good.
Yeah.
This guy's giving us something. He's giving some sort of details. He's breaking this down. He's giving analysis. Tony's not doing that.
Well, I think, and I know in my brief, I had, like when I was in Medicine Hat, I would do color commentary for some of the teams coming in. And Les Lazarus in Saskatoon, one of the
A legend. Icon
best
of
play-by-plays ever, not in the NHL. Like he was fantastic. And I worked with him and we talked and he said, this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to tell me what happened. I want you to tell me why it happened. I will describe the play and you tell me what happened. And the best guys, like color guys, do that. Ray Ferraro, best in the league. By far. He'll tell you 4 plays, 4 seconds back or 5 seconds back. This is why so-and-so was so wide open in front of the net. This is why this happened. This is why this happened. And I got into the habit when I do broadcast is that I'll watch the play develop. And if I think I see something that may lead to something else, I'll write it down. And then if it leads to that, like a minute later, you have, what happened there? So-and-so lost his footing and the puck came back to. So I think that's the difference between the really, really good color guys and the guys that say, hey, that was his 50th goal in the last 17th game. You're not telling me anything. Tell me why he was wide open in the slot. Tell me,
Because he makes 1.4 this year.
1.4. I'm just saying that's what I got. And I remember working through that junior circuit, there were so many good play-by-play guys, so many young guys coming through and doing really well. And Ring Bartel was another one.
Yeah,
Can't remember-
he's in Kelowna still.
Yeah,
Kelowna.
I think he was up for the Oilers job a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
One of the names sort of mentioned
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, and obviously I worked with Mooner and Red Deer.
Yeah, like a Cam,
Took him
yeah.
a long time. The reason they took Cam so long to get here because Brent Sutter, treated him so well in Red Deer.
Yes.
He didn't want him to leave.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm going to pay you so well that you don't want to leave. And then eventually he had to let him go because of the opportunity. But he was another. So, and I think, I can't remember who it was I was talking to. It was a young guy that was going to start. He got a job in the WHL. I said, just take all the information those guys give you and just absorb it because they're so good. But I do remember Les telling me that. And it still stuck to me that day. Like the very first time I worked with them, it says, don't tell me what happened, tell me why it happened.
Yeah, good advice.
And I'm like, it was great advice.
It's one of the reasons those jobs generally go to former players or coaches.
Yeah,
because they know it better for those moments. Like they're the one. That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
Tell us what we don't know.
Yeah, and you can tell a guy that like when Ray Ferraro, like he's to me he's the best like color guy because he'll break down exactly what happened in real time too. Like these guys
and not
do it
afraid
in
to
real
be
time.
critical.
And Greg Olsen does that too because he's like, oh, so and so, watch this pulling guard comes here, kicks out this block, and you're like, you think, wow, man, he noticed that, and then right in real time he tells you exactly what to play with. Now I think someone talked to Tony Romo and said, stop giving our
Who's
our
doing
trade
the
secrets
Super
away.
Bowl?
CBS, I believe.
CBS, yeah.
I believe
That's
it's
a Tony
Romo
Romo
and
Jim
Jim
Nantz?
Nantz.
Yeah.
I believe it's them this year.
We'll see what the build-up is. Anyway, I like Tony, and I just feel like I don't know if I can remember a broadcaster's career going from one end to the other so quickly. He was just revered there.
Everyone loved him.
Yeah.
And it was so quick
It's not
too
that
how
long
great he
ago.
got.
Yeah,
right? But
right.
also like he
Yeah,
went
he was
right from
great right
playing
away.
to then being this great color
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And now there's just a lot of criticisms of Tony Romo.
So it'll be interesting to see how it evolves and develops. And
Well, and does Tom Brady get into the booth next year? He's supposed to take Greg Olson's job as the number one guy of
He is,
Fox.
hey?
That's what he got the $300 million contract for, whatever, and it's supposed to start this upcoming year. And
Tom Brady.
I don't know if he's willing to do the grind of
why isn't
all that.
Why isn't Peyton Manning in the booth?
He's got the Manning
I don't
count.
think he wants it.
Yeah, he's
got
got
a
it better
great
doing
setup.
his own.
I think ESPN went hard from a couple times as they've redone Monday Night Football many times.
Yeah.
And Payne's always just said no.
No thanks.
And that's why then they created the Manning cast where he doesn't have to do every week. I think they only do like 13 weeks of it or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that gives him, and the ESPN was thrilled to give him that. But they wanted him for a long time and just could never get him.
Tom Brady in the booth will be interesting because
Yeah.
his knowledge would be
Yeah.
It's there.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just don't know about his. He just seems.
Can he
His
deliver it?
personality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his personality. I don't know if how that will kind of come across on TV. But I mean, his background and his winning and everything.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you give him a chance to try that, considering what he's done on the football field and for how long he did it?
Well, what's interesting is that to me, I've been watching football for a long time, and the game has evolved. Like it's just gotten more complicated. Like play calling's gotten more complicated. But the game itself.
Well, you were the quarterback of your high school
I was,
football
but
team,
you-
right? Just a reminder in case you missed the beginning of the show.
And Edmonton Huskies. Don't
That's
forget.
right. Oh, I didn't know you were with
I was
the
a third
Huskies.
stringer with the Edmonton
Oh,
Huskies.
nice. What happened to the first and second
They
stringer?
were better than I was. But I think you when you break down football now and like when you talk about the evolution, the plays that they're running now are very similar to the plays they're running in the 80s. Like they're just a lot more complicated called than they were back then, but the gaps are still the same. Everything's still the same. So like the game. So when those quarterbacks break it down, it goes, okay, well, it's not really that complicated. The guy's going to go in motion. This is the A gap or the B gap, or some call it the 2 or the 4 gap. It's sort of like that. But I think about soccer and the evolution of soccer, how that has changed with the strategies and this and that. But then it also kind of goes back to teams doing now what they're doing back in the 60s, right? Like it's kind of cyclical that way. And I remember Ken Hitchcock was talking about that. I love talking hockey with Ken. You could sit down and he just wants to talk hockey.
That's all. That's
And
all
so
he wants to talk about.
we would ask him about, and it was great because this is one of the things I learned from Jim Matheson is that you can never pick someone's brain enough and you'll always learn something new. So he's like, well, give me your thoughts on the power play. Why are they doing this on the power play? Why are they dropping the puck back to guys now? The power play. Why are they doing this? And I remember Hitch was like, well, it's kind of cyclical because a team will do something and everyone will copy it. But then, I was watching games from the 60s and they were doing this thing I was like, You actually sit down and watch games from the 60s. Is that what you're doing? You're watching
Even Gene's like, oh my
from
God.
the 60s, man?
It's just,
I watched those videos from the 70s. It looks like those guys are going to fall over if they don't hold on with their sticks. Like everyone talks about Bobby Orr, greatest. You watch those highlights of Bobby Orr. It looked like he was a 90s skater playing in the 60s, right? It looked like everyone else didn't know how to skate, and he was the first kid that learned how to skate. He was like my nephew when he was 5. He was my nephew was the best skater on the ice, so he was all over the ice, and then the other kids are just trying to. That's what it looked like when Bobby Orr was playing back in the 70s.
Well, he
It was
could.
just like, oh my God!
Skate. It's funny. One thing about Bobby Orr, because he's ended up, he was Taylor Hall's agent and McDavid, and
That's
just
right.
a conglomerate. And I remember seeing him in. I've only seen him on ice, and when he was finishing up his career, I would have been like around 8 or 10, and he was with the Hawks, and he'd had 6, 7 knee surgeries. He wasn't the Bobby Orr that was with the Bruins. And then I met him in Florida, and I thought, he's such a small man. One of those guys you see on TV, larger than life.
Yeah.
I expected him to be like 6'4". Even though I read his numbers, I knew he wasn't 6'4".
I was
220.
bigger than him.
Yeah, he was.
Really?
He was just he was just a
my
kind of
God,
average sized man.
Yeah.
And it was great though to meet. Sometimes you meet your idols and your heroes, and you go, maybe I preferred not to, but meeting him was great. But
He's so nice.
Very nice, and I chased him for years for interviews. No, you're good. You're okay. You don't need me. What have I ever... Like, he was just so humble, and I never did get the interview, despite the fact he continued. Because if you remember in Florida, they had the Oiler room, and then there'd be sort of an open room, and then the Florida... So visiting at home. And he would always be in there... I think there was a time too, he might have managed or been Ryan Whitney's agent, but mostly Taylor Hall and then Connor. And, he'd be in there meeting with them before a game and just saying hello. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's freaking Bobby Orr. Like, it was just one of those great meeting. Phil Esposito was fantastic.
Phil was great,
and
Phil was
still
great.
He's bombastic, right? As loud as...
He will tell you whatever's on.
Yeah,
his
yeah,
mind.
He's
he's
not
never
big either. I remember.
No,
he was big for his time. He was
for
6'1",
for
6'2".
sure. And I remember when we had him on Sportsnet about, would have been pre-pandemic, because we wouldn't have had him on during, I don't think. But he was talking about Ovechkin chasing Gretzky, right? He's like, hang on. Wayne's the greatest of all time. Nobody tell me that Ovechkin's going to do this and that. You wait and see if he gets to, pass Wayne. Right. He was just so adamant about defending Wayne, and how people are already kind of given the record to Ovechkin. And here we are now going,
Is Ovi actually going to do it?
this is interesting to see how long they're going to keep this going. Now, maybe it's just a bad year for him. I don't know. And he still has time.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, wait a minute here. This doesn't seem so like free space on the bingo card that he's going to get to Wayne and pass him. So
38 years old, 9 goals this season.
Well,
in
that's the
44
thing.
games.
He's 38, 39, 40.
what's he at career-wise?
It drops up pretty
Career
quickly.
831.
Okay, so
He's
he's
got 63 to go.
Yeah, so he needs, now let's say he has, let's say he even scores, let's give him 11. Let's say he gets to 20. He still almost needs 2 more seasons. He's going to have to play till he's 40. Now, he has been, up until this year, very injury-free. But, I mean, if the guy has, 11 goals, like, when does he get taken off the power play the first year? I don't know what you do.
Right.
Because this becomes awkward for the Capitals, who aren't exactly...
No, they're struggling.
They're struggling, right? So it's not like, okay, we can hide this guy and let's just keep putting away here until he gets her. So it's become one of the great storylines that even myself, I thought, unless he suffers some kind of major injury, he appears. What did he have the year before? The last couple of years? Like, he's still
he was in the
last year,
last year.
73 games, had 42 goals.
Yeah,
the year before that, 77 games,
So it's
50
just dropped
goals.
off the table. But that's the way it
And
happens.
I think Washington, though, has...
It's not a gradual decline.
I think
You
Washington as
drop
a
off
whole
the
has
table.
had a lot of issues.
Yes.
With a lot of players not producing stuff. So maybe it's a
No
part of
Backstrom.
Part of
No,
that.
Backstrom is a big deal.
Part of it is just like the whole team isn't there, but it also, I think you're right, DVD too. When it ends,
It ends
it doesn't end in a gradual 44 goals to 30 goals to 28
Exactly.
goals.
You're
And,
right. You
it's
start to
just
It's
it's
over.
gone.
It's
Wow.
all gone.
I mean, I'm assuming his shot is still there. I haven't watched a
Yeah.
lot of Capitals games other, when Edmonton played them earlier this season, and he was, fairly unnoticeable.
Yeah.
But I got to think the shot's not totally gone, that he's still got
They
it.
can
Maybe he
still rip
can't
it,
get it
yeah.
away as fast or something is.
He doesn't get as open or something.
Yeah. So, anyways, great. And Wayne has been, I have to admit, if that was my record, I'd want to keep it. And maybe deep down, Wayne wants it. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's been so gracious. Like when Ovi would hit 700, especially when he hit 700, right? Now you're kind of closing in because you're in that echelon where there's 5 guys or whatever that have scored 700 plus goals, 5 or 6. Then of course he gets the 800. Wayne's always been so kind about sort of being willing to hand it over, but I don't know now. I'm not sure. I would love for Wayne to keep that record.
Well, I asked Gretzky about that about 3 years ago. I was like, there people are saying Ovechkin's going to challenge the record, and he said right out, I hope he gets it.
Yeah.
Hope he gets it. But it seems so far fetched at the time. Like you wonder. Now this, but I just think, and people were telling me, he's going to score 40 when he's 38, 40 when he's 39. So I've seen it. I've been around long enough to see it just drops off. Yeah. Suddenly you go from really good and then boom. And I remember Wayne had the great line where he said, someone said to him, so why are you quitting? He goes, because I can't play at the level I want anymore. Well, you had whatever it was his last year, 15 goals in the last year.
No, he had 9 goals and he had like 60 something points.
Oh, that's right. He had 9 goals, 60 points. He goes, that used to be a good weekend. Right? 9 goals used to be a good weekend, not a season.
Which is true. And I mean, Wayne played 20 years. I mean, it's not like he shortchanged it and got to 11 and said that's enough. I mean, I just sometimes, maybe because we grew up watching him and had a chance to know him. I would like to see, because I don't think the points personally. I don't think the points.
That's fine.
I can't see anybody reaching the points. And there was a time I didn't think that anyone would get to the goals. Ovi's got a shot after him.
There would have to be some changes to hockey, like a bigger net and some things where for anyone to even come close to, I think, challenging Gretzky's points, just because it's. He's got more assists than anyone's got. Second amount point, right? Like that is, it's just ridiculous.
If he'd been healthy, obviously would have been a guy that the only other. I think Lemieux one season had 199 points. I mean, he was amazing. Matty told the story on the panel one day because we were talking about they had Couturier shadowing McDavid. McDavid had 5 points that game, so it didn't work that well. But how Matty was shadowing Lemieux and Lemieux I think he had 5 points in that game, and Matty was watching. He says, "Why don't you try and score a goal? Like, why don't you just worry about like getting off? It's kind of like this is going pretty good for me. Like, why don't you worry about something else?" And Matty delivered that line. I mean, because back in the day, that's what they did, right? They would shadow Steve Casper. Was always on Gretzky. Yeah. I mean, he always watched him, right? Yeah. That's the way. That's kind of you talk about evolving and evolution of that. For the longest time, that really wasn't the way to watch a player, right? It was the defense, the deep pairings or the 5-man unit. And now I see a little bit like I'm a bit surprised that more teams don't try to. I mean, McDavid's such a great skater, and I guess that's why it's difficult. But I think I would try one guy just to see how it goes. Yeah. Couturier, who's a really good defensive player. Yeah. It didn't go so well because that night McDavid was on fire. He was in on all 5 goals. And I think that was just to start the new year. I'm just kind of thinking back to the streak and thinking to who they've beaten and everything. So anyways, I'd be happy if Wayne kept the record. I will say this, if Ovi got it, he would deserve it. Because in this, when he's played to score that many times, 50 plus and a 60 and to be healthy and he's not a shy guy. He doesn't play the game soft. He's involved, physical. But I don't know. I'm not sure what the betting line would be on Ovi getting that record anymore.
Well, it seems so improbable a few years ago. Then it became probable. Now it's like, maybe it's not so probable anymore. So
I think got to see what the start of next year looks like for Ovi. If this is a one-off year or is this now Ovi? In a sense, just before exactly. It's that first 20 games next year. Is he back to that scoring pace? Because then it's like, okay, no, now he's back to being who it was. Last year was just a little blip. He will go. But if you start 20 games next year and it's the same as this year, then I think we can go, this is the drop off.
You look at what Crosby's doing this year.
Wow.
Wow, right? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad. That's amazing. You know what? He's having a fantastic season, and I mean, he's had pretty good years. It's not like he fell right off, but to get to this level
Back to
again.
that level.
But you know what? This is a guy that, we can't underestimate. And I know, when you watch Crosby and Connor has these, especially Connor with his skating, right? And his stick handling, it's hard to think that he does anything, that he just sort of wakes up and does that. But these guys work so hard. And I feel, I wouldn't say bad, but I think these great players are always underappreciated for their work ethic.
Yeah.
And you see it and you know it when you're around the teams. But when you're a fan and you just see greatness on the ice, you just think that a lot of it is natural, and some of it certainly is. But they work so hard at it, and so I'm happy for Crosby, and I'm looking forward to March. They play each other twice in about a week or so. The Oilers, I think it's
I'll double check it.
pretty close. Yeah. And by that time, the Oilers, who knows where they're at? The Penguins are, they're kind of in the mix.
Dicey.
Dicey, right? To see
sure.
what they do.
They went all in thinking, okay, we got one last kick of the can here. We got
Go get Carlson.
Go get Carlson, and it's not working out. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do at the deadline, because it gets to a point where
they're 6 points back of a playoff spot at the moment.
Yeah, so you got
3 games in hand though.
You got these guys, and we've gone to wars with them. It's almost like they owe it to them.
For sure, yeah.
We owe it to you guys to go for one last shot. Like, we saw the Bulls, the last dance thing, when they said, we're going to break up this team. But no, you owed it to that team to let them lose that championship. Don't break it up after. You owed it to that team. And look what, the Bulls have never been back there. So I think I like what they're doing in Pittsburgh. Say, okay, we're going to go all in. We're going to try one more time. If it doesn't work, you guys realize, okay, then we'll blow it up and we'll do whatever.
Go from there.
Well, it's a tough balance for teams, just the loyalty versus, moving on. And
For sure.
The LA Kings were that team that won those cups. They stuck with that core for longer than maybe they should have.
Well, same thing.
Dropped down, and then they're
rebuilding it. Right?
Rebuilding
Chicago,
it, but they
same
went
thing.
down. Chicago. The Lakers stuck with Kobe until he was done. And it was bad basketball down the last bit because he couldn't play after his Achilles injury. But it was... Well, you can't let Kobe go play somewhere else, right? Like you need to have him there, and so it's like I think for the Penguins, like it's
Letang might
how
go.
do you let them go?
Malkin might go,
Well,
but Crosby
and that's
for
the
sure.
balance
Once
that you have to
start
have.
pulling them apart, once you go, then obviously it's over. It's kind of like what happened with Chicago and Taves and Kane and those guys and Keith and
The time would come. Well, I'm kind of curious about what you were talking about. So Wayne, I think the one thing I'd say about Wayne, I'm not sure if there's a right way, but he would never cheat the game.
no.
And I think by him playing and having the next season having 53 points, I think he felt like he was cheating the game, not cheating, but
The fans,
like, this is Wayne Gretzky. And I'd be curious to see what Ovi's going to be like. Is he going to be like, I got to get this record, like I have to keep playing within reason? Let's say he ends up with 20 goals this year. Okay, now he's thinking maybe I can do it in 2 seasons. But I don't know what Ovi will want to accomplish, like is getting plus 800 goals, like enough to say I'm the second greatest goal scorer. And some people think he is the greatest goal scorer, even if he doesn't have the most goals.
I believe he is pure goal scorer.
I think it's
best
just
ever.
in the era, because I call it the brown pad era in the 1980s. You watch some of those goalies back then. Like, ever met Darren Pang?
Hey, we had Panger on the rink report the other day.
Very short.
Yeah, this guy played goal in the National Hockey League, and you're like, wow, really?
He did.
I remember Derek Van Diest.
Of course we do, yeah.
You played goal.
Great guy.
Oh my God. And I remember there was a picture of a goalie back in the 80s and him standing there with his equipment compared to a goalie in the 90s or 2000s with their equipment. You could see all of the net in the 80s. You could see nothing in so it's a different era. It's a different era. But hey, the sticks are better now. The shots are harder.
Absolutely.
Right.
They were beating goalies with wooden. I don't know. You guys never had the pleasure of playing with that Titan that Gretzky played with.
Oh, yeah.
No, I
Gretzky
heard it was
Titan.
The Gretzky Titan was it was so heavy. It was a club. It was I remember, but everyone had it because Gretzky had the Titan. The white Titan with the red lettering, and I had a Titan.
I'm embarrassed to say, is Titan still?
No,
I don't
it's
think.
gone.
No,
I don't think
they were bought out. I think for a while.
Yeah, imagine Wayne Gretzky being your showcase player with the Titan.
I don't know how that happened, but they got Gretzky to play with that Titan, and he played that Titan for a few years, and then he went to the
Easton.
The Easton.
Yeah.
When
the
that was
shiny Easton.
When I was a kid, Sherwood PMP was
the Sherwood PMP
was the wooden stick. You'd go down to Army Navy or Sport Check.
Army Navy.
And you
miss
just
that
look
place.
at those sticks, and it was like, and I had one. No, not that I had a great slap shot for that matter, but one stick was kind of like if you broke your stick, like I don't know, you might be not playing again soon because it was you had to treat that thing like like it might be your only one back in the when I played in the 70s, I guess. Yeah, in the 70s,
Well,
playing minor hockey.
like my nephew is 9 years old now, so he's starting to look at those composite sticks, and actually there's a couple of kids on his team have like $300 sticks.
Yeah,
and I'm
man.
like, why?
It's
Why? They're 9
incredible.
years old.
Yeah.
So we were in the store the other day, and he said, "Oh, my friend," he says you have to get this composite stick. So I said, "Grab one of those sticks, lean on it, see if it bends." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Go and lean on it and see if you can make it bend." And he couldn't. And I said, "Then there's no point to having that stick, buddy." So I grabbed one of mine and I leaned on it. I said, "See how it bends? That's the whole point of a composite stick. It bends and whips. So if you can't lean on it, if it doesn't bend for you, then we'll wait till you get bigger and stronger and then we'll look at it." And he was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." and just left it at that. I'm like, I just won that argument.
That was
great.
I thought I was gonna drop $300 on a stick.
A bunch of parents are going to be calling DVD right away.
do
Like,
you
I need
do
you
it?
That's
to.
how you do
You're
it.
coming,
Folks, make
You're
your
going to
kid
sit
lean
at the
on the
store.
stick.
You're going to have a seminar with each kid that comes in.
Make
Their
your
stick.
lean on the stick. No,
Watch what
okay.
I can do.
No.
Buy a wood stick.
What did you give him? 100 flex? That was like rebar for an 8-year-old.
They had the sticks there and he
I
couldn't
know.
bend it. And well, obviously they're shorter, right? So they're gonna be harder to bend. But he couldn't lean on it. So I showed him how it bends. And I was like, that's the whole point of the stick. So, but I said, if you can't do that, then there's no point of buying this stick. And it just registered with him. He was like, "Oh, okay, that makes
Made
sense."
sense, yeah.
Okay, and then we left it at that. I'm like, I'm gonna have a meltdown here. This kid's gonna want a $300 stick because a couple of his buddies have it on the team, and he's gonna go in the room. And goes, "Hey, can you lean on your stick? No, then you shouldn't have that stick." That's the way type of guy he is. Like he's a pretty witty kid. Like he would. I don't know if I've told this story before, but he was in kindergarten and the Oilers came up. They had a discussion about the Oilers, and then he put up his hand. He goes, "Oh, my uncle talks to." They brought up Connor McDavid.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone met Connor McDavid? And so my mom, he puts up his hand. He goes, "Oh, my uncle talks to Connor McDavid every day." And his teacher's like, "Really?" He's like, "No, he talks to him every day." So no one believed. Oh, I told the class, no one believed me. But so apparently it was after one of those scrums, and every now and then I pick him up from school. So I got to meet his teacher. And it was one of those scrums, one of those where we get boxed out.
Oh,
and
yeah,
we're like
yeah.
literally like
You could see it, yeah.
They have all these cameras, and so I always tell Cor, "Why do you have to just really close? Why do we have to be in the shot?"
Yeah.
But anyway, it was one of those where we were in the shot, and I'm standing beside him like this, and his teacher saw it. So the next day he's like, "Emerson, I saw your uncle on TV."
Oh, cool.
And being Emerson the way he is, he's like, "Oh yeah, what was he doing?"
That's good.
He was talking to Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
He kind of just walked away.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
so-
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's
Emerson.
a great mic drop. What was he doing?
This is the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk, Gene Principe, Derek Van Diest, Tom Gazzola with you. Presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Reminder, we were talking about Super Bowl a little bit earlier. We'll be in Vegas for part of next week. We will be back because we'll be at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the Super Bowl. The entire EST crew will be there on February 11th. You'll have a chance to win EST merch, a spot on the Hangout, and more. Renee was on yesterday from Century Casino.
great.
Outlining everything that she has
Beautiful there.
planned to give away.
We went to go see an Elvis impersonator there.
As you should.
Recently, and it was the first time I'd been in Century Casino in a while, and I couldn't believe the sports bar.
Yeah.
The screens, like very underrated.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't, they think of sports bars, that might not be the one that comes to mind, and it's also North Side. Beautiful. You guys are going to have a blast.
Yeah, those walls of TV that they've built
Yeah,
for
it looks unbelievable. Yeah.
It's really well done. So you could come join us for the Super Bowl. Make sure you call to reserve some tables. I think Renee was saying yesterday, like half the tables are already booked up. And then they'll just be the people wandering in. So you don't want to miss out on a seat. 6 o'clock or lager be in stock. All at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Super Bowl Sunday.
Are we gonna talk about the Lions collapse?
Can I-
Lions
Yeah.
the Lions
Can-
fan
well,
right outside.
when
Let's get. We'll do that after. I'll get to one thing, then we'll get into that.
Okay, this is somebody wants you to tell a story, Gene. It's from Reno.
Oh.
It says, ask Gene if he remembers Mike, the neighbor, bringing Gretzky's stick to our place in Phoenix and how Bob had to check it out for the initials on the heel.
Yes, I do.
I remember Stoff
that.
was all just like sitting on the couch in
Yeah.
the living room,
And
tired. And then he's like,
Oh, yeah. We used to enjoy with Reno, the Gazzolas, having a spot there in Phoenix, and we had some great dinners the night before games. I remember that.
yeah.
Right, that would have been
10 years
Yeah, I
ago?
was going to say it was 10 years ago, and he brought that stick over, and Stav got excited, I guess.
Yeah.
When he saw that stick. That's hilarious. That's a great memory from being down there. Phoenix was always, the team and the arena has switched, and it's always been a fun stop. I think most people, the weather's nice, and it feels like you're on.
If you're planning a place to go watch an Oiler game for a round trip,
I would say
there's a lot worse
Vegas
places
has
than
maybe
Phoenix is right up
superseded
there.
Arizona,
Definitely.
but one thing different is the availability. Well, not with
Well,
mullet.
tickets, yeah.
Not with mullet. I had a guy that was down there with his wife, and he paid in mullet last year. I think he paid over $200 US for tickets because there's so
There's
few
less.
available.
Yeah.
Whereas before $200 you could buy a section.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no
box was
disrespect
500.
Arizona, but
A box was 500 at Gila River Arena.
Yeah,
you
like
get
it
12
was,
people in there for $500.
yeah, it was
unreal.
You'd always be a bit disappointing thinking of the bigger picture, and you've been down there in Arizona. But yeah, mullet was wicked last year. Like I felt like I was at Claire Drake Arena. Like it was just so fun, so small, and we're set up. Jack and Louie a little less, but I'm like right standing there, just like people are all over the place.
Yeah.
So it was just a blast, and I think the players enjoyed it.
It's a nice for one game.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, like one game a season, it's kind of neat. But I remember McDavid because they had the dressing rooms outside the arena, and then you have to walk through. And I remember him walking through, and TM Gene was following him. And he gets in there and he goes, "Wow!" He kind of just was like, "So this is it, eh?" You could see it on TV, but then you need to see it in person.
Yeah.
And so they're not there. I think Family Day. I think the Oilers are there for a first time. It's been a late wait to get there. But yeah, for a one-off, maybe 2 games a season. I mean, I don't know what it would be like to play a playoff series there. It starts to bring the game into a bit of disrepute.
Yeah.
Playing in there.
Feb 19th, Family
Feb
Day.
19th, yeah. So
Zegras made fun of it without making fun of it in his bench interview with Ali Lozov. I think it was.
right.
She's like, "What do you think of it?" He's like, "Yeah, it's great." He just left it.
I mean,
It would be fun to go see a game.
Yeah.
Like,
You
it
know
honestly
what?
would be fun to get there
I
just
agree.
to experience the best players in the world at their craft in such
Sure.
a unique
so
bar.
close. You're right there.
Yeah,
And honestly,
yeah.
it's Claire Drake fits around 3,000.
Yeah,
or so?
that's a
around there.
fun arena.
Yeah, it's a great
I love it.
arena. It really did remind me of that. I'll have to refresh my memory when the Oilers get there. But it was great because it's small, but it's so many Oiler fans are in there. But it was tough to get a ticket and tough to get a cheap ticket, which is usually, you head down there, you play a little golf, you go see an Oiler game. But it's not so cheap anymore to get a spot there. But I am kind of looking forward to it. I must admit, it was a fun. The Oilers won, and it was just a fun experience, I guess, overall.
So they've only been there the once last year.
That's it. That's all I can remember is the one time. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's get to movers and shakers brought to you by Marco Mike Realty One Group Insider. MarcoMike.com for more information if you're looking to buy and sell your home. DVD wants to talk Lions. Collapse.
Yes.
That's a
Well,
collapse to you, not 49ers just winning it?
Are you kidding? Talk about throwing a game away. Literally throwing a game away. Right? You have a chance to kick a field goal. Oh, we're going to go for it on 4th down. It doesn't work. You have a chance to tie the game. And you go for it on 4th down. Like, to me, that was the dumbest decision. As much as I rail on Mike McCarthy for making stupid decisions, that was the dumbest machoism. We're aggressive. This is what we do. Decision I've ever seen in my life. Dude, kick the field goal, tie the game. Live to fight another day. Like,
In the
it's
first-
absolutely ridiculous.
In the first half, when they were when Campbell was waiting to see if he was going to go for it. I think it was 4th and 3, and they were
up 2 scores. Two, they were up 14
and they were in
at
the
the time.
red zone, and they couldn't punch it in. And he's waiting. I think there was a timeout. Then you finally see him put up his hands for the field goal unit. I was like, all I could think of is you yelling, "Take the points," because you always yell, "Take the points."
I always take the points. This is the thing. Always take the points. They're free points. Take them. And
Well,
this
you have to
is
still get the field goal.
Yeah.
No,
Still-
that
And-
fourth-
and that
the
kicker
field
is a
goal would
little
have been
bit
what?
issues.
It was
it was a 47 yarder.
So that's not free points.
It's not free points, but it's a chance to tie the game.
Yeah.
You still have a chance.
You're trying to tie the game here. There's a couple of things I learned during my football days. Okay. One, always take the points. Always take the points, right? It's the bird in the hand type thing.
Yeah.
Bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Always take the points. 2, never take points off the board. And I've seen this happen before where you kick a field goal and then someone jumps offside and you're like, oh, Let's okay. We get a first down. We'll keep going for that. No, the rule is never take points off the board. So if you got the 3 points, take it and cut your losses
I
and
can't
move
agree
on.
with that one.
That is,
if I getting a first down, I'm taking the first down because I got 3 more shots to
but then
potentially go get a
then
touchdown.
you have to kick the field goal. Odds are you'll have to kick the field goal again. So you have to kick the
But
field
I'm
goal
closer.
twice. Well, you have to kick a field goal twice for 3 points. That and
but
you
I
look
also
at
have a chance
you
to
talk
still get
about
a
the
touchdown.
You talk about the analytics. More times than not, if you kick a field goal and then you get the first down, you'll end up having to kick the field goal again, right? And I think that those are the 2 rules that I lived by, and I see it happening over and over and over and over again. Listen, okay, go for the odd 4th down. Don't make it your calling card. We're gonna go for 4th down every time because it's just what it did. It so deflated that football team. Like even the first 4th down, they could have kicked the field goal, made it a 3-score game again. We're fine. And things aren't, the wheels aren't falling off. You don't, you have a drop, you have a fumble, they come back, and suddenly the momentum is going the other way.
Well, the momentum shifts
Right.
at that
And
point. The
now
other
you-
team's feeling so great.
Yeah.
It was going to be a tie ball game,
Yeah.
or you're thinking,
Exactly.
and instead we're still up 3 and we get the ball here.
I think,
Awesome.
I think someone, and Dan Campbell has been awesome coach,
Yeah.
right? He's done a great job with the Lions and so close to getting to the Super Bowl. I think somewhat, and while I like it, I think on that one I would have tried to kick the 40. 47 is like
It was 40 something.
Yeah, no, it was a long field goal.
It was a
You're
long
right. It was a
field goal.
long
They
field
were on the
goal.
30-yard line.
I think someone, and I don't know in football, I feel like the head coach is the head coach.
Yeah.
Like it's my call. Everybody back off. I feel like in that situation, someone needed to almost in advance say, "Hey, listen, it's whatever, 2nd, 3rd down.
Yeah.
Listen, Dan, we gotta kick this. I
Yeah,
know
47 yarder. It would have been about 47, 48 yarder.
so I feel bad for him because that's what they've done, right?
Yeah.
That's who they are. So it's always is it okay to do that in the regular season? Not with a Super Bowl berth on the line. I struggle with that, but for sure. Now, if you'd missed that field goal, if right, then they would have said we should have gone for it. I'd be curious. I didn't hear all of Dan Campbell postgame. I don't know if it was 37, whether he would have kicked it. Like I'm not sure if a 37 or 39.
It was just out of
would
the
have
range in his mind type thing.
Yeah,
you're thinking?
maybe he's thinking like, what are the odds? Like maybe it's 60-40 that we make this. Maybe we feel better odds to make the 4, the 3 yards. So lots of things you'll think about for a long time.
And I get there is an old adage, and I think they use it in baseball too. When you're on the road, you play for the win. You're at home, you play for the tie, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he was thinking that, but I don't know, man. That to me, that was just given away. They worked all hard, and then you just gave it back.
Yeah.
What I didn't like from the Lions is their 2-minute drive, like with under 2 minutes, where they took their time and then they burned the timeout.
Yeah,
that was a
And
mistake.
it was just one where it's like, well, now you have to kick an onside kick as opposed to
Well,
at some point just go kick the field goal, take your 3 points because clock's ticking.
I was thinking
you could
that
then
too.
kick it off, get the stop, use your 3 timeouts, you get the ball back, and then you can march for the touchdown. You need 2 scores.
I was thinking
and I
that
would
too.
not want to go for an onside kick. So the moment they used that timeout, I was like, there's your mistake right there.
I was thinking
you
that
have
too.
to do something different.
I was
there.
like, okay, if you want to be different, you got the ball in the 30. Let's kick the field goal now, and then we'll try
Right.
and stop, and then try to go for the
Right.
touchdown.
That's what I was
Right?
wondering
I
if
was
they were
like,
going to do too.
You got to do 2 scores.
because you
So
don't
get
want the
one
onside
right now.
kick too. It was in the Ravens game, I think it was, where they threw up the
Sorry
stats.
about that, by the way.
Thank you. Not happy about that one. But I think they said this year, like only like 2 onside kicks out of 40 some
Yeah,
attempts
they've
or something
changed the
have
rule.
happened.
Yeah.
Like so, it's like the moment you use that timeout, you go away from okay, my defense could go make a stop and we can get the ball back, or to well, we got to kick an onside kick that the odds are really against us.
Yeah.
Did
And
you
that's
think
the
that was a touchdown that got knocked
fumble?
away on the?
No,
on the,
that was a fumble.
No. Sorry, originally, like when you saw the play just happen, you thought it was a TD.
I thought he was like
Okay.
from the first camera angle, like when they showed it live.
It looked
It
like
looked
he
like
was
he was
in-
going to get there,
Right.
and I'm thinking like it's got to have touched the line, and then
Yeah.
he lost it on the ground or something.
I don't
and
know
then
if
they turn it.
I can't remember seeing a play like that in a long time, where a guy's this far away from a certain touchdown in such a big game. What a defensive play! I can't remember just seeing.
Actually, it happened to the Ravens last year.
Same
in a sense.
play?
No, it was a quarterback play where because Lamar wasn't playing and he went for like to stretch across the goal line,
Got knocked out.
punched out, returned for a touchdown the other way or something, and it just
That's,
They got knocked
like,
out 'cause
talk
of that.
about not meant to be.
Yeah.
When
Yikes.
those kinds of things happen.
And that's one where it's like, if he doesn't stretch out, if he just holds on to the football, I think he still might fall into the end zone.
Right,
I don't
instead
think
of
someone's
the-
getting there.
yeah.
Or at the very least, they're at the one. And
They're at
with
the
the
one,
Ravens
worst
running
case.
situation,
Yeah.
they would have scored a touchdown.
Oh, well, more
It was-
Taylor Swift.
More
Yeah,
Taylor Swift.
more Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. And well, if she could get there, that's
Right,
going to be the
she's in
thing. She's in
China?
Tokyo.
They said she
Tokyo,
could make
yeah,
it.
She'll be there.
Yeah.
If all goes right, I think she could be there 25 hours before kickoff or 28 hours before kickoff
Yeah, they said it's doable.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
because of the time difference
yeah.
and stuff. So when
I
it's
gotta
done in
say-
Tokyo, she could fly in, and by the time she lands in
I
Vegas,
understand.
it's like 28
I'm
hours
not a
before kickoff.
Swiftie, but having her at those games is awesome.
You know, I think it's good for the league.
Yeah.
Like somebody had the number at like $330 million of like
Taylor
extra
Swift.
money that
Yeah.
this is
Isn't that
generating
right?
or
Yeah.
something.
It's unbelievable. Like, I think you're bringing in a new audience to the league.
Very
You're
much so.
bringing in people that don't care about football. You know, this is like, you know, no one's complaining that Eminem was in the crowd for
Yeah,
Detroit,
right. How-
Giving
Was he-
people the finger, which is great. I loved it.
Right?
Yes.
He reminded me of Maradona at the World Cup.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
Maradona
yeah.
at the World Cup?
Yeah.
He had the two Rolexes and he's giving people a finger from his.
That's right. I remember that.
Was that when he was playing?
No,
Or is
it
it
was the World Cup in Russia. Argentina
Yeah.
was playing somebody.
Oh, he
and they
was
ended up
just
winning,
like-
and he was hammered.
Oh, yeah, and he was
But
just-
I do remember, like, he had a Rolex on each hand, and he's giving the finger to the fan. He's in a private box giving the finger to the fan.
Yeah, I remember that. That was
Yeah.
great.
Speaking,
Yeah.
you know, as you're talking about, you know, marking or shadowing someone. I do remember a quote from Maradona once, and he said, "When a guy comes and stands beside me, I just go stand beside someone else.
yeah.
So then I have two guys.
Two
covering
guys,
me
yeah.
instead
Which
of one. Instead of one.
you needed against
You know, someone
Maradona.
is like, my God, that's brilliant, right? I just go stand beside someone. I remember I gave advice to that to somebody.
Well,
once.
he used to
This guy
get-
won't leave my hip. Go stand beside that
He
defender.
used to get beat up so badly,
Oh, it was bad
Maradona,
back in
for
the
a
day.
small,
Yeah.
well, any player.
Yeah,
but
anyway, yeah.
anyway, so I'm kind of. It just so happens that she's dating a guy that's involved in so many
Yeah.
plays,
Yeah.
right? If not that she would date an old lineman, but
If she was dating his brother, there'd be less cuts, like because you
Right.
wouldn't be talking
it's
about
not-
the
no,
center
but
that
he's-
much during
he's
the game.
involved
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much that it's crazy. But it's been a kind of a nice crossover to see entertainment, which football is.
You know, but
sport
it
and
happens all the
entertainment.
time. Like they go to the Lakers game and you know, you got
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson in the front
Yeah.
row. You got all these stars in the front row. What's the difference between that?
free
The
marketing.
amount
Free
of
marketing.
cuts is what people would say. They cut to Taylor Swift more than anyone
Well,
else.
every time Kelsey
But-
makes a play, they cut to Taylor Swift. She's
Yeah.
cheering.
And then the only other time the cuts were this past week is they were promoting the Grammys.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she's being
is she in on
She
the
has a
Grammys?
chance to set a record
Oh,
at the Grammys
yeah.
or
Oh,
something.
she
And
does,
like
hey?
so they
Perfect
cut her. You
storm.
actually could see her like wondering if you read lips like she realizes after, oh, it's about the Grammys. She was wondering why she was on the
Yeah.
screen.
Oh,
So
is
she's
that right?
looking up.
He didn't do anything.
And then also, and then you just hear, oh, Grammys. And you're like, okay, so they're
I like
promoting
some of
Grammys.
these
You kind of
tweets.
figured
I like
it
some
out.
of these tweets that are saying, "Oh, Taylor Swift's just riding the coattails of Kelsey just because he got $70,000 bonus. That's why she's with him." I'm like, do you not realize how much money this woman makes?
I hope they're saying
I'm
it
like,
facetiously.
You better be like kidding, right? Because she's like
She's a
world
billionaire.
famous
I was gonna say,
billionaire.
she's probably
billionaire.
worth a billion.
Yeah,
she is.
She is.
She
Yeah.
is.
She's a global mega superstar.
She's on the level of the
Yeah.
NFL. Like
Yeah.
the NFL as a whole of their
Yeah.
32 teams is equal to,
Yeah,
if you want to,
take an
one
LF
singular person.
You take an
in that.
NFL game, you take it to Brazil, you may get a similar crowd that she would get at a concert in
Right,
Brazil. Like
one
it's not
person,
even
yeah.
one person. Like her
Yeah.
concerts sell out all over the
Yeah.
world, and you know it's like
I care very little for her music and her stardom, but I look at that and I go, that is such easy marketing,
Yeah.
and it's what a boon for the NFL. Good for Travis
It's
Kelce
made
if
me
he's
like
happy.
Taylor
Like,
Swift, actually.
You know
I
what?
don't care,
And
personally.
I'm guessing that television crew is told, hey,
Yeah.
every time that guy does something, you go
You
right
go
to
right to it.
like
that's smart.
all the time.
It was-
Don't
There's a
try and
bunch of
stay away from
Swifties
it.
that are throwing on football for the first time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not caring about anything about football. They're watching because this is Taylor Swift's boys team.
Yeah.
Go Chiefs.
Go
And then they
Chiefs.
want to see Taylor Swift. Yeah, there's our girl.
Do you
know?
remember when Andre Agassi was dating Brooke Shields?
Oh yeah, that's
Every
right.
time he won a point, they would
Yeah.
go to
Yeah,
Brooke
Brooke
Shields,
Shields.
right?
Yeah.
It was like, and she's like losing her mind in the stands, and like every time he wins a point, they would go to Brooke Shields.
Image
It
is
just
everything.
happens. It happens. all
But
the
we want to
time.
see the Chiefs lose finally, though, no?
I like.
do you
I
want-
think
I hate San Francisco. I hate it with a
That's
passion.
fair.
Yeah.
Right? I still contend
Why
to
is
this
that,
day
Derek?
that catch by Joe Montana. He was throwing the ball out of the end zone.
Oh, to
and
Dwight
Dwight
Clark?
just was
Just happened to catch it?
Happened to catch it. I've seen
Dude,
that
you
play.
gotta let that go,
I've
bud.
seen that play. I can't. I was 9 years old. It broke my heart.
Uh-huh.
That was the first time the Cowboys broke my heart, and they break it every season since. But I've seen that play over and over and over again. It was a third down play. He was in the corner in trouble. He was gonna. I'm just throwing this out of the end zone,
Dwight
and out
Clark.
of nowhere, this 6'9" Dwight Clark catches
Yeah.
it. The greatest play of all time. He was throwing it out of the end zone. But yeah,
It worked.
That was the one. I remember that was the first time, and I think it's funny because Emerson's at this age now, where you kind of get invested in a team and you live and die by that team. And I remember that game. That was the first time like I was crushed. Like I remember I was crying. I was all upset. My mom didn't know why I was upset.
Yeah.
It's just a football game. No, it's not just a
Not
football
any
game.
football
It was
game,
the
Mom.
Cowboys, and I hate Joe Montana. And it reminded me there was a video when Tom Brady was playing of this little kid. He's like, I hate Tom Brady. I hate Tom Brady. All he does is throw touchdowns.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Tom Brady throws a touch. I hate Tom. That's how I felt about Joe
Well,
Montana.
Montana played for the Chiefs, though, too. So,
did.
like,
Yeah.
you got, I mean, it
did
was
play
a
for the
different
Chiefs.
Joe at that
It
point.
was
but,
yeah.
the Niners, I think, were a lot of people our ages kind of team to dislike or like back in that era with Joe and Roger Craig and Dwight Clark and Ronnie Lott. I mean, they had a lot of sort of
Jerry Rice.
Yeah,
There was,
Jerry Rice.
there was a lot of battles
Steve
between,
Young
especially in
after
the
that,
90s.
yeah.
There's a lot of battles between San Francisco and the Cowboys. They were, for the 90s, they were the two best teams in the NFC. They would always meet in the NFC Championship game. So
Who do you think is going to win? Not so much.
I think the 49ers.
I think
Yeah.
the 49ers will win. I do. I think they have the more well-rounded team.
Yeah,
They will commit to the run. The Ravens didn't commit to the run enough. And like the Ravens held the Chiefs to 3 points after the first two drives.
Yeah.
Like the defense settled in and contained that Chiefs offense. And I think the 49ers defense could do that. And then if you get Christian McCaffrey going,
Yeah, right. He got going there. I mean, it was
it's going to be
wicked the
tough.
way
It's tough to
Detroit-
take that guy down.
Yeah, it's going to be. It should be a great matchup. Throw in the Taylor Swift angle and
they should invite her to the halftime show.
who is playing halftime?
Usher.
Oh, it's Usher.
Yeah, exactly. I see your face. It's
Usher.
Yeah.
How did Usher get that?
Exactly.
He's a worldwide superstar, as
Canadian?
they said. No.
Apparently, he's
Oh,
releasing
that's
an
Drake.
album. He's
Yeah.
releasing an album.
Yeah.
Drake
Usher.
is Canadian,
Yeah,
It's one where it doesn't feel very Super Bowl halftime
Yeah,
show
not
esque
really.
based on the
No.
last few years.
You got to check.
Jasmine, in regard to Taylor Swift, says Taylor Swift is ruining Super Bowl. I love entertainment value, but she isn't entertainment. She's annoying. She's
not doing anything.
Sorry, says
But she
Jasmine.
literally doesn't
she
do
just
anything.
doesn't-
She
she's
sits
just
in her
a fan.
box and she cheers on her boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's great.
And when she walks into the facility, like I loved in
people are-
Buffalo, people are ripping at her and she blew him a kiss.
Yeah.
Which I really do enjoy that. If you're
Yeah,
going to
that's
give it to
great.
her, she's
Well,
willing to give it
sure.
back.
Well, of course.
But she doesn't do anything else.
Yeah. Well, did you see that one in Buffalo? That little girl was holding up the "I love you" Taylor Swift, and Kelsey came out.
Yes.
And picked her up, and so she got to see Taylor
Oh,
Swift.
I didn't see that.
There was a little girl like
Jason Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. He's shirtless.
Oh gosh!
that guy looks like he'd be a fun guy to party.
Oh, are you kidding
Listen
me?
to his podcast. He'll talk about some of the stories, and
my
it's just like,
God.
yeah, this guy's going to be
that
fun.
right?
It's fun. So anyway, so he saw this little girl with a sign said Taylor Swift, I love you. And she was like, she couldn't see in the box, right? She couldn't see Taylor Swift. She's trying to get her attention. So he stepped out of the box,
Drunk.
called her over, picked her up, and said, "Hey, there's Taylor," so she could see your sign. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I think it. You know what? Publicity is always good. Like if you can tap different markets and different
Yes.
people and bring different people in that would to watch your product that normally wouldn't watch it. How is that a bad thing?
No, it's not.
Forget,
It's
it's
smart.
not a bad
Yeah.
thing, right? You know, it's
Well, you
like,
take a hockey player. I don't know, someone. Pick a superstar
Yeah.
or whatever. If Sidney Crosby was dating,
in some global setting.
like it's.
Well-
I think it's great.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney with Wrexham.
Yeah.
Everyone's now following this story of this
Yeah.
soccer team because of these two stars. And if anyone's watching, like there was a Wrexham game yesterday. I'm sure people were watching
they
that
do? I
FA
was
Cup.
watching that.
They got destroyed last. It was 4-1 in like 80th minute or something like
yeah.
that. So it wasn't good for them. But I'm sure people watching in the US are like, well, where's Rob? Is Ryan Reynolds there? Is
Yeah,
Rob McElhenney there?
That's a great series, though.
You know, it is.
Have you
But
seen
like,
I have not seen it, but I've
it's
heard
fantastic.
great things about it.
if people wanted Ryan Reynolds in the NHL, how many people would have been loved
True.
to have
Yeah,
cut
if
the
you bought the
cutaways to the
Senators.
Ryan Reynolds in an
Exactly.
Ottawa Senators game? But
Exactly.
for some reason with Taylor Swift, it pisses people off, and it just doesn't make sense.
I'm kind of with Jasmine. Like I don't care for her. I don't care
Yeah.
for her music. Some of it's catchy. I don't
I'm
care.
not a
but
fan
I
of her
think it's
music.
fantastic for the NFL, and like Jason Kelsey picking up. That's organic. That's
Yeah.
nobody should look at that. Go. What a stupid thing. No, it's a little girl who loves Taylor Swift, and here's the brother of the guy she's dating. He picks her up, and now she's a national, in the spotlight, internationally.
If
I
Taylor
should say.
Swift
It's
started dating
phenomenal.
Connor McDavid, people would be so thrilled.
Edmonton
Except for
would
Roy and
become
Kyle.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect.
I got your back. Lauren.
But I'm just an example there.
Yeah.
But
No,
no,
Right,
it
like if
happens,
like
yeah.
every Oiler fan would
Well,
be all into Taylor Swift. They'd buy Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift fans would be buying Oiler stuff, and like they would be this big deal.
Well,
trying
sorry, what was
So,
that
you
country
know.
music star that was dating Fisher in
Oh,
Nashville?
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? She was in the box all the time watching.
But
Yeah.
Taylor Swift pisses off a certain portion of the population,
Well,
and for
sure,
different
well,
reasons.
political
And
stance,
now
I
it's
get that.
created this thing where now it's blown
Well,
up
now,
and bigger
it's
than
a,
that.
It's a political stance.
Yeah, she's a
thing.
left wing like.
Well, she says go register
operative.
for votes. And
Yeah,
it's-
Oh, does she?
She wants people to register to vote, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a bad
That's
thing.
all she's done?
She does
Just
at her
pretty much,
concerts.
pretty
she-
much.
At her
Whoever you
concerts,
want.
she has a registration booth and she encourages young people to register to vote.
That's a bad thing.
Yes.
Well, it is for a certain one.
When more people
one
vote,
certain
you know.
party, it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
but it's like no, you can vote for them too.
Yeah.
Just go vote.
Just go vote.
It's okay.
But yeah, so that's
That's
a
what's
political
created some of the
leanings.
hate against
Yeah,
Taylor
that's-
Swift. Is that's
most
where
of
a
it.
large part of it has come from, and then people have just grown
Which
from
is
that.
ridiculous.
Because again, we can name a bunch of people that they show in these broadcasts, and no one cares. But for
Nobody
Taylor
cares,
Swift,
yeah.
it's like the first time people like stop showing. her.
Who was Ron Greshner dated that supermodel? I'm drawing a blank. I know her name. I can't remember. Somebody Google. Back in the 70s and 80s in New York, of all places.
Yeah, I remember that.
What's
I remember
her
her name.
Farrah Fawcett?
No. Oh gosh, but that would be something along. Now back then it wasn't, and Ron was a good player for the Rangers, but he wasn't Kelsey like or McDavid like or Crosby like or anything like that. But I think it'd be great to see Mike Fisher, Carrie Underwood was a wonderful story. I'm just trying to think. I can't
Dion
think of
Phaneuf,
too
Felicia
many.
Cuthbert.
Yeah, Rip
Dion
City Step
Phaneuf.
was talking about that.
Yeah, Dion Phaneuf,
Dion
Felicia
Phaneuf.
Cuthbert.
Mike Comrie, Hillary Duff.
Yeah, Mike Comrie, Hillary Duff. I remember seeing her.
She was itty bitty.
Yeah.
Very-
I
yeah.
remember in the old building.
Yeah.
Actually, I asked my daughter, who's 22 now, Isabella. She was a big fan of Hillary Duff, and I think she asked me, or I thought I'll try and get something signed. So I said, Mike, I hate to ask you, but do you think Hillary would sign this photo? And he's like, no problem. I'll get it signed for you. Got it signed.
He's very nice.
Mike was one
Mike's
of the nicest guys who people didn't think was very nice.
Yeah, he's
now,
super nice.
I wasn't around him 24/7, but I remember in St. Louis, first he had just signed December 30th, played that game, and it was the first game of the new year. And we were staying out. MacT liked to stay out in Clayton, which was about a 20-minute drive from the arena, a suburb, and there was like a hotel shuttle van, seats 8 or 10 or whatever, and we're all getting on there, and the vet said, "Oh, you sit in the front, Mike," because usually the guy in the front would tip a little bit, $10 or whatever it was. And then he saw me. He goes, "No, you sit in the front." And I don't think it was for the tip because he had it covered, but he was just kind of feeling like, I'm the old senior veteran guy. I should get to sit in the front, not way in the back with 3 other guys. And he wouldn't take no for no. You sit in the front. You sit in the front.
Yeah.
Like he was. Yeah, I always liked Mike. He was
He's
quite nice.
a good guy. He's a good guy. I remember that day when Hillary was there, and we were going back towards the dressing room, or maybe it was back towards they had like a little media workroom in the back. So we go to the dressing room. So she was standing back there, and I looked at her and I smiled. She smiled. I'm like, man, that girl's pretty. She looks really familiar. I don't know where that. and then I got sat down. I was like, oh, that's Hillary Duff. She was tiny.
She's so
tiny
small.
little girl.
Yeah.
But she had such a pretty face. I'm like, well, that looks really familiar.
She was
like,
always very pleasant, like
Yeah,
always
she's
smiling,
nice.
like waving
always
to
smiling.
people.
She would smile.
Back
like,
then, they would have been in their early 20s?
Early
maybe?
20s.
Yeah,
She
somewhere
maybe
mid
is a little
20s.
younger
Yeah.
than Mike or whatever.
Yeah, but I was like, oh yeah, that's Hillary Duff. And then it dawned on me after I sat down and read my story. Oh, that's
Yeah,
what
and
that was.
if the world were like it is now, not that Hillary Duff is Taylor Swift or Mike Comrie's necessarily Kelsey, but that would have built
big
more.
more,
yeah.
I actually, now that I think of it, I'm not sure where she sat, but there were no cutaways of her watching Mike Comrie or celebrating an assist or a goal. Like it was just a different mindset. I think back then it was almost more about privacy.
Yeah.
You didn't. Well, I don't know if they want to be seen or know that they're here.
I remember you sent me to go and set up an interview with David Foster.
Oh yeah,
I
of
was
course.
like, who the hell is
Yeah,
David Foster?
David Foster.
So I went
David
to
Foster,
you're
yeah.
like, he's in suite, whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm Gene Principe's bitch from the broadcast. We want to know if you get an interview with David Foster. And the person's like, give me 10 minutes and I'll ask him.
Yeah.
And then I waited and come in the first
Yeah.
intermission. And I'm like, Gene, you got your interview with
Yeah.
this guy.
David Foster is like,
Yeah, and you were very excited.
oh yeah, David, Canadian and well respected and a hit producer, right? Like
Yeah.
a hit machine for
Were you-
producing.
Carol
shows.
Alt was the.
Carol Alt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you go on that, I guess, junket to LA to talk to David Beckham? And when Gretzky
you know what?
was there?
I was supposed to go and didn't.
Oh, he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
You guys talked about it was the crickets that day.
No, that was a different time.
Sachin Tindallard.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I'm
Sachin
like, who's this
Tindallard.
guy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was with
I
Gene.
found a picture of it.
Yeah.
Did you?
In my phone, yeah, because I'm like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, so
was us three.
We've told that story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With Sachin
Beckham was a
Tindallard.
different junket.
Yeah,
they
different-
they
Yeah,
basically
they
paid-
basically paid us to go down to
go down
LA
there
and
and
talk
give
to
it-
him.
yeah.
And so it was a real quick. We went paid down there, and Adam Cook,
Yeah.
he was there with CTV, and he asked Beckham a great pointed question. He said, "Hey, 20 years ago, this guy named Wayne Gretzky came here to try to sell hockey to LA. You're here selling soccer to LA. Do you see parallels in the same thing?" And David gave off a great answer. He was talking. He goes, "Yes," and then Adam Cook said, "Hey, have you ever met him?" He goes, "No, I've never met him. I'd love to meet him. He's a guy I'd really love to meet." Sure enough, Wayne Gretzky. This gets back to Gretzky. The next day, he's in Tom Cruise's private suite watching the game.
Oh wow!
And we found out the stadium is a small little stadium. Like they were playing.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Matthew. Happy birthday to you. Yay.
Thank you.
How old are you?
Appreciate that. 33.
33.
33 now.
Look at
Well,
that.
thank you.
I can't even remember. Do you remember 33?
No, I don't
even
actually.
remember
33, I think we had one kid. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Congratulations. So how do you feel
you.
about 33 years?
Just another day.
Yeah,
Just another day now.
What are you doing today? Going for groceries.
You know what I was doing at
Going to my
33?
parents for dinner.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
33.
perfect.
We were covering. I was covering the Oilers 2006 Stanley Cup run.
That's
that'd
when
be
you
nice.
turned
I
33?
was 33 that year. Yeah, 2006.
Finish your story so then we can wrap up.
Oh, so yeah. So just saying. So Gretzky's in Tom Cruise's private suite. We see him there. We ask someone to go and say, "Hey, can we get 5 minutes with Gretzky?" And I remember the LA media person's, I don't know. It's just like, just tell him some people from Edmonton are here. He'll be accommodating. So this young intern type person knocks on Tom Cruise's suite. He's knocking on Tom. Sorry,
That was me.
Mr. Gretzky. There's some people from Edmonton here would like to talk to you. Yeah, tell him I meet him on the field at the end of the game.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was awesome. So
Cool.
he'll meet you. And he was like so excited. He's like, he'll meet you at the field at the end of the game.
Oh, the
right in the
intern was,
corner.
yeah,
Right? So it was like, great. Well, so we had like 3 cameras there. Like, there's a bunch of, they flew us all out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Because I think the LA Galaxy was going to play the Whitecaps here in exhibition game. So that's they were trying to. So yeah, so we were down there, and then we were watching Gretzky walk down the stadium, signing autographs, making his way down, like from Tom Cruise's. It was
Cool.
Like him and Tom were sitting there. I was like, it was pretty cool. One of the coolest.
that's a great story.
experiences, Yeah.
I know what that little guy was feeling like.
David Foster.
David Foster, Mike Babcock. Oh,
That's right, yeah.
a bunch of them, yeah.
That's it for the hangout.
that was
We're out.
great.
We're the 2 hours is
And
now
cake.
up. We've got cake
Got
now
some
to
cake.
eat.
Yeah.
Delicious looking
That looks
cake. So
great.
thank you to the
Happy
boys for
birthday.
that. Lock Shop coming up next with Dusty and Huss, and then at noon it's 2 guys and goalie, Cass, Gager, Dusty, to wrap up live programming right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. Really
Pleasure.
appreciate
That's a
it.
pleasure.
birthday,
And
buddy.
we're reconvening
Thank you.
in Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see you in Vegas.
We'll do
see you
that.
in Vegas.
Guess
baby.
who's coming on the hangout?
On behalf of Tommy, Derek,
We'll do a
Gene,
Hangout Vegas edition. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Angle Lock Shop coming up in just a few minutes.